Welcome to the Henry County Board of Commissioners, 6:30, Monday, August 14th, regular scheduled board meeting. We will begin our meeting with an invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Pastor Leonard Hines, Henry County Fire Department. If everyone would stand.
Thank you. Let's pray together. Our Father, we thank you for this day. You've brought us through a hot summer into the month of August. And Lord, we lift up all the workers of our great county right now, those that labor in the vineyard, in the heat, our fire, police, all the departments. Lord, we ask you to protect them and bless them. And Lord, tonight in the immediate moment as we come into this meeting, may the agenda be properly assessed. May you lead, Lord, as you would have things to proceed. May we trust you. May we cling to you. We're thankful, Lord, for what you're doing in our great county and pray that your hand would continually be upon us. So bless in this meeting. We invoke your presence and, Lord, are thankful for what you're going to do. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
I'd like to call our meeting to order. The following item was advertised and posted for the August 14th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting, but has been postponed by staff. That's the Kellytown Senior LP of Atlanta. That particular item has been postponed, so if there is anyone here for that particular item, it will not be heard tonight. The following items were advertised for August 14th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting, but has been tabled by the applicant. That's Comp Amendment 21-11 and RZ-2138. Both of those items have been postponed. If you're here tonight for those items, they will not be heard. We're going to move forward with the consent agenda. I'd like to ask the county manager to come forward and please read the consent items. The first item under the county attorney, item A is being removed from the consent agenda. And County Manager, there is one other item with regards to the emergency management bids. If we could for the tree removal, if we could have those items placed on the regular agenda.
Okay. Got it. Okay, that's it, Chair?
That's it.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is your consent agenda for Monday, August 14th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. We have a resolution under the county attorney. We have a resolution authorizing property acquisition for parcel 23 as part of the Western Parallel Connector, the Hubbard Robertson Boulevard property. We also have a resolution authorizing property acquisition for parcel number 16, Marketplace Storefronts, LLC. And then we have a resolution to authorize property acquisition for parcel number 17, Marketplace Storefronts, LLC. Under the District Attorney's Office, we have a resolution reallocating funds from position number 3102 to cover the costs of supplemental pay for state employees in the Henry County District Attorney's Office in the amount of $91,034. Under DOT, we have a resolution approving an amendment from the Georgia Department of Transportation clarifying the mileage of temporary State Route 920, which is to be removed from the state highway system, and that is Jonesboro Road. We also have a resolution awarding bid number 23-60 to Hasbun Construction, LLC, for the construction of Phase 1B of the Panola Mountain Greenway Trail in the amount of $486,276 to be funded from the Henry County DOT's budget. The property is located in District 2. Under E911, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners to approve the renewal of the L3 Harris Radio System Maintenance Agreement for fiscal year 2023-2024 in the amount of $611,690. Under Facility Maintenance, we have a resolution to award Train US Inc. a contract for the replacement of the McDonough Library HVAC control system in the amount of $247,319. Funding has been approved for this project in the FY24 Capital Improvement Plan. We also have a resolution to award Train US Inc. using the Omnia Partners contract for turnkey installation of HVAC 3 90-ton telepacks and new controls for the Judicial Building in the amount of $1,194,663. Funding has been approved for this project in the FY 2024 Capital Improvement Plan. We have a resolution awarding a contract to Georgia Power for upgrades of 5 county facilities with LED lighting through their small commercial direct install program. The total estimated cost of the upgrades is $200,496, with only 30%, which is $71,472, of the expenses to be contributed by the county. Funding for this project will be made available through the Facility Maintenance Department's budget. We also have a resolution awarding RFP number 23-51 for HVAC maintenance and repairs, which is an annual contract to Max Air Mechanical, LLC, of Marietta, Georgia, in the amount of $267,020 as a unit price agreement with no fixed quantities for 1 year with 2 mutually agreed upon annual renewals. Under Fire Rescue, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners awarding a bid number 23-62 to Bound Tree Medical of Dublin, Ohio, for the purchase of miscellaneous medical supplies not to exceed $424,000 annually for Henry County Fire Rescue. Funds are available in the department budget. Under SPLOS, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners approving a Georgia Power lighting proposal and utility agreement for parking lot and area lighting at the Henry County Aquatic Center in the amount of $188,650 using SPLOS 5 funds, SP 5001. We also have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners to perfect the record of resolution number 23-143 regarding T-SPLOS right-of-way acquisition for State Route 81 widening Phase 1 from Lemon Street to Bethany due to an increase in funding from the Georgia Department of Transportation in the amount of $376,000. We have a resolution approving additional costs in the amount of $167,075 for the South Ola Road Extension Project in order to add upgraded traffic signals required by Georgia Department of Transportation, SPLOS Project 5113. And then we have a resolution of the Henry County Board of Commissioners to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $100,000 and the Central Georgia EMC utility relocation costs, estimate costs for Selfridge Road in the amount of $34,125. Under Stormwater, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners to award a contract, RFQ number 23-52, to Goodwin Mills Kaywood in the amount of $124,800. Under Technology Services, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners authorizing the recycling of technology surplus items and equipment. And then we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners approving the purchase of a license from Sherlock Technology, NCPA, contract number 01-86, with a yearly cost of $80,000 for the first 2 years and $88,000 per year for the subsequent 3 years, resulting in a total 5-year cost of $424,000. And then under Transportation Planning, we have a resolution to accept a Community Development Assistance Program grant in the amount of $100,000 from the Atlanta Regional Commission for the development of the Henry County Bus Stops Creative Placemaking Plan with a local match in the amount of $25,000. Madam Chair, this ends the consent agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I got a question
Which one?
for stormwater. What's that for? Okay. Excuse me, Sherry. I did have a question about stormwater, the resolution to award the contract to Goodwin Mills K-Wood in the amount of $124,800. And what is that for?
Rocky, can you
It's in stormwater.
It should be in your book.
It didn't. I looked at it, but I want to hear it.
Good evening, Chair and board members. What was the question? I'm sorry.
No, the stormwater, the contract going to Goodwin Mills K-Wood in the amount of $124,800. Could you just explain that?
Yes, Commissioner. So this is, we haven't, since the inception of Stormwater, which was in 2006, there has not been a fee schedule increase or review. So this is basically to review the fees, the level of service, in order to see if we can increase the services, the fees.
Okay, so we're paying them so that they can look at our fee structure to see if it's feasible to increase the
To
fees?
increase it, yes, sir.
And so how long is this contract going to last?
It's probably going to last about 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
So is this to do a study?
To do a study to be able to bring back to the board a new schedule of fees.
Or whether or not we need to increase stormwater fees?
And most likely we will, but
Okay.
yes. And this will be for residential and commercial.
Okay.
All right.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
To approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
So next, we move to our regular agenda. County manager.
Yes, I brought my own copy just in case. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, perfect. Good evening again, Madam Chair and Vice Chair. This evening I stand before you all to recognize an amazing commissioner who left us. And so shortly after the passing of Commissioner Gary Barham, I think it was a unanimous conversation amongst members of our board that it would be fitting for us to rename one of our parks in his memory. Obviously, Commissioner Barham spent a lot of time at North Ola Park, and so this is a resolution that I'm presenting to the board seeking authorization to rename the North Ola Park to the Gary Barham Park. As you all know, Commissioner Barham served District 3 from 2013 to 2021, and he served it with a lot of zest, and we certainly miss Commissioner Barham, but we know that he's present with us here today, and I think this would be very fitting for him. Commissioner Barham was a fifth-generation Henry County native who grew up in McDonough and attended Henry County High School and Griffin Technical College. He actually retired from the city of McDonough as the Director of Public Works after 31 years in local government. And I will share with you that even beyond him being a commissioner, I coined him as my Public Works Director because he told me everything I needed to know about Public Works and what we need to do to fix all of our road issues. Commissioner Barham, this goes without saying, was certainly a servant heart for our community and was a volunteer firefighter as well. He was a Little League coach, and believe it or not, he was an umpire. I bet that was quite interesting, and was a major contributor to the growth and success of baseball and softball in Henry County. Commissioner Barham left an indelible mark on the Ola community and the many young people he coached and inspired at North Ola Park. And his legacy of public service and investment in youth sports continues through his sons, who carry out the tradition of his service. The Henry County Board of Commissioners wishes to honor Commissioner Gary Barham and remember him for his outstanding service and dedication by renaming his beloved North Ola Park in McDonough to the Gary Barham Park. This evening we do have members of his family here, and I think we certainly want to thank you all for sharing him with us. And I think at this time, Chair Harrell will ask the family to come up for a picture, and then we will send out a notification on the official unveiling of the Gary Barham Park. Thank you.
I know this is in Commission District 3, so I would like to see if I can get a motion.
Absolutely. Motion to approve Gary Barham Park.
Got a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. Johnny, you second the motion.
Second.
Because I know that was your friend, and y'all served together. And we appreciate Commissioner Barham's. We could appreciate his service to this county. We appreciate his family, and you know, he's still in our heart. So, got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. If all the if we can ask Miss Becky and the family to come forward over to the side so we can take a picture.
Madam Chair, are you going to go back to the emergency management items, or?
Yes, we're
Okay.
gonna, if we can have
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson,
Okay.
our Director of EMA, to please
Thank you.
come forward.
Good evening, Chair, Board. Today we're asking for approval of the award of 4 bids that were put out. And I'm going to try to walk us through this process. So FEMA categorizes reimbursement through types of events that take place here. The debris removal piece, category A, is broken down into 2 different projects within Henry County. One being countywide debris chipping, because our DOT crews got it off the streets. The second one is going to be Indian Creek Mobile Home Community, who still has debris on the roadways. This contract has the company that's going in, removing that debris, picking it up, chipping it, and being able to get rid of that as well. With a federal declaration and a reimbursement, the federal government mandates that we hire a monitoring service for each of those projects. So we have 2 bids that are referencing people that are picking up and chipping wood, and 2 bids that are 2 separate companies that are monitoring the work that's being done by those contractors. Can I answer any questions regarding this process?
Does the board have any questions?
I will share that the federal government reimbursed 75%. The state of Georgia, GEMA, reimburses another 10%. Henry County is on the hook for the rest, but because of the documentation and the approval for straight time pay and equipment cost and tracking by the team, right now we're in the green with all projected costs for this bid process.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, can I get a motion for us to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. No discussion, all in favor.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Department of Transportation. If I could have David Simmons come forward, please. And this is a public hearing.
Good evening, Chair, Board. Sorry I kept you waiting. I was thinking he had 4 items, so. All right, so this first item is concerning approval of a road name change of a portion of South Bethany Road to Bethany Lane. So the renaming is necessary for this portion of road as a result of a SPLOST project of South Bethany Road improvements back in about 2010. Calls for this remaining section of old road alignment. Along this section of roadway, there are 5 properties with South Bethany Road addresses and 3 properties with Bethany Lane addresses on the tax assessor's website. And we propose renaming the old alignment location to provide for more clarity on addresses for the parcels that take access for this section of roadway. If you see on the screen there, what is blue is basically where South Bethany Road was prior to 2010, and what you see in green was the realignment as a result of the 2010 project. So there's been issues about both roads being known as South Bethany Road. So this is an attempt to try and clean that up, and the action, or the area shown in blue, is what we're proposing to rename tentatively as Bethany Lane. Per one of the landowners, apparently we must have gone out and put up road name signs in the last few days, but that was not my intention. So just unfortunate timing, I would say. And I'll take any questions.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board right now? Okay. All right. All right, so this is a public hearing. If there is anyone wishing to come forward, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I'm John Dewberry. I live at 1010. What's my address now?
1010. South Bethany was as previous and proposed as 1010's Bethany Lane.
My concern with it is, like he shared earlier, you guys changed the name of the road and then you sent us a letter. And that kind of ticked me off. Because if you're going to change the road and you want us to come to the hearing, why send us mail? You've already made the decision. Like he said, you changed the name of the road. We asked in 2009 when this project started. We asked point blank, will this road change names? And the commissioners that were sitting where you're sitting said no. And now we got to change all of our property stuff. I've got several things I've got to change because I'm a business owner. And I'm just a little discouraged. So that's what I want to share with you guys, that I think if you're going to change something, at least give the citizens an opportunity to say something before you change it. Because this road has been, the name changed without even, he didn't even know it was changed. And that's kind of disturbing to me, real disturbing. But I do respect each of you, and I do say thank you for what you do, but at least give the citizens an opportunity to voice their opinion, even if you ain't gonna do what we asked you to do. Even if you got it in your mind, you're not gonna do what we're asking. At least let us voice it before you make your decision.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Carrie Riles, and I live at 1001 South Bethany Road. I don't care if there's a name change, but I'm understanding that this is going to cost me funds to do all the changing that I have to do. As Mr. Dewberry spoke about our banks and I guess all of our other accounts that we have, it's going to be a lot. I probably have to change attorney stuff too, so I'm not really looking forward to it unless you have a complete outline for us. Make sure that we're not going to, this doesn't affect our identity in some fashion, or I don't know, somebody comes around and says all of a sudden I don't own my house because the name changed. So I'm a little concerned about that. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I'm very well protected, me and my family. So I don't think I have anything else to say. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other comments. This will end public hearing. David, can you explain to us why we're having to change the name?
I know that I'd heard from the post office probably a few months ago, I want to say maybe in May, that they were having difficulty finding some of the addresses, particularly their newer carriers, probably not the people that had been there for a while. And I'd heard from our tax assessor's department, one of the properties, the USPS doesn't recognize the Bethany Lane address, which it's been shown, I don't know when it started, but it's been shown on our tax assessor as Bethany Lane for some time. So I think that's why the 3 blue dot homes up there got the Bethany Lane address. But one of them can't file for homestead because they don't have, DDS also won't issue them a license because the USPS doesn't recognize the Bethany Lane address, if that makes any sense.
So one of those blue dots can't file homestead exemption.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wilson, this is your district. You have any?
I do. I'm concerned about the public safety finding these addresses on the Bethany Lane part. So is anyone here that can speak of that from 911 or PD or fire to kind of give us, if we have any issues with finding addresses.
Good evening. I've been working with David, and I think it's going to be easier if we change the name so that they can find them. Because if it's all South Bethany still, then they're going to have to determine which side of South Bethany it's going to be that they have to respond to.
So when minutes counts, it could be crucial. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis.
Thanks a lot, David. My question is, so in the instance that the government does change, we being the government does change the road, and to Mr. Dewberry's point, the citizens really didn't have too much to say. I understand why we're changing. It makes sense to change it, but do we leave everything to the homeowner at that point to make all the changes in their life without our assistance? That's just on them?
Yes, sir. I believe that's the way it's been done in the past. I've only done a few of these, but I do not recall the county being part of the assistance for changing that over.
Copy that. Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis, just as further information, we had one several years back. It was Kellytown, in the Kellytown area.
Yeah.
And we did bring forth a resolution for the board to consider changing the addresses, and the decision was made at that time that that would not be an expense that the county incurred.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know how it migrated to there, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was kind of given that name on the plans in 2010 or just somewhere along the way it got that tag, but it just never came to the board. Ideally, you know, I would have been doing this 13 years ago, I guess, but here we are.
All right. So I need to, I'd like to call for a motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. No further discussion, all in favor? Motion carries.
Okay, this next one's also a public hearing. This is it's a request for resolution to abandon and declare surplus a portion of Holloway Road right-of-way as shown on Exhibit A. And the portion of Holloway Road requested to be abandoned is located on the section of Holloway that's west of Patrick Henry Parkway. And the area requested to be abandoned is 29,393.96 square feet, also 0.675 acres. I will point out the applicant's aware of a communications tower located on adjoining parcel to the abandonment area, as well as existing utilities that will remain in place. And this is a necessary step in the process for combination of parcels. And you'll see there, you've basically got, let's see, about looks like seven parcels that actually have frontage on the abandonment, but we sent letters to everybody on that west side of Patrick Henry that touches touches Holloway Road. So, but you'll see the area in blue is what we're looking to abandon. There will be a subsequent item to this if you approve this abandonment. And on number 3 there is where there is a communications tower. And this is basically to be able to eventually acquire that blue area, which would be the next board item if this is passed. And then they can combine their parcels versus having a strip of right-of-way separating parcels. And I will say this area requested to be abandoned it's an area that that the property owners had trouble with dumping. I realize there's still a section of road there, but the section of road that'll remain public after abandonment gets closer to Patrick Henry Parkway, but doesn't mean dumping will stop. So that might be something we address in the future. So that is pretty much that. And there's the plat. You'll see kind of that boxed in area north of the green shaded. That's the communications tower lot, and it's hard to see in there, but they already show an easement through that area to get to that communications tower. So I think with that, I'll take any questions.
So, David, by declaring it surplus, what does that do for, I guess, the property owners? Can you go back to the partial?
Sure. This one or the tax map?
The other one.
Okay. All right, so this is the first step. The next item after this is to sell that blue area per official Georgia code on how you dispose of abandoned county property, county right-of-way. So
the people that own the partials 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are trying to purchase what's in the blue area.
Yes. Yeah, not so much 6. I can't remember if it touches it, but yes, generally, and maybe even part of 8 may touch it also. But yeah, definitely 2 through 5, 7 and 8. 6 might be a little bit of an overlap of frontage there.
Well, where 6 is, isn't that it's nowhere to go from that point?
Yeah, 6's parcel right now doesn't serve really any purpose, but if combined with lot 7 certainly, and then combined with 4 and 5 across the road, then they'll be able to develop that probably more in a manner of what they'd like to do.
So they only just want to purchase a portion of the road and not the entire road?
Just what's in blue, yes ma'am. Anything to the northeast of the blue will remain county property, county right-of-way, at least at this time.
Okay. Well, this is, any questions from anybody right now? This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come and speak on this particular matter? You have 3 minutes. Please come forward. Announce your name. Okay. We didn't have anyone come forward. The public hearing is concluded. Commissioner Thomas, this is in your district. Do you have any questions or concerns?
I don't really have any concerns. I think David represented it exceptionally well. I see no real need for this property where it is and where it's located that the county could take advantage of. So if indeed our residents can use this to the betterment of the area, to keep it from being a dumping ground, we should support that. David does very, very well when it comes to our roads and what needs to be repaired, what we need to purchase, what we need to buy. So I really am leaning on his expertise to say this is surplus land. Thank you, David.
Thank you. And
yes, I'd like to
if I could make one comment.
Yes.
The county manager did mention, I guess there's a concern with it being that communications tower. The term surplus may not be something we want to use.
Okay.
And whether it means we can abandon or not, I'm not sure.
The tower may have been abandoned as well.
Right, and our emergency management team just informed me that there is a communications tower, and we would like to confirm that it is not a county tower. It may just be a cell phone tower, but I would respectfully ask if the board would just allow us to table this item until we can at least confirm that. What I don't want to do is to abandon, or what were we doing, abandon? Or declaring surplus?
We were abandoning, but the intent is to also require them to provide an easement to that tower, so we'll always be able to get access to it.
Okay. I think that will work, but yeah, as long as we can have an easement to it, then I think we're fine.
So then it needs to be stated, because
Yes.
right now it just says abandoned. So in the resolution, it needs to state.
Does it state that?
Absolutely.
I know in the next resolution, the sale, it does, because if we just abandon it and not sell it, it's still county property.
Okay, so your next resolution includes the easement.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so we want to include it in both of them, Chair Harrell?
There's
Yeah.
no harm in that.
In the resolution, we do have applicants where communications tower located on one of the parcels and is in agreement to provide an easement for access to the communication tower. So it's kind of doubled up. We put it in the abandonment, but to me, it's probably more appropriate in the sale.
Okay, well, let's put it in both. That
would
way
be
we're
the best
covered.
thing.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept accept the recommendation David has made to the board about making this property surplus, also inserting the statement that there will always be an easement provided with the sale of the property, as long as that tower is there. Is that what you're saying, right, David? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure we can craft something from that.
Okay, thank you. So I'm asking that this be approved with that addition added to it.
Okay, got a motion and a second. No further discussion, all in favor? Motion carries.
Okay, as mentioned, this next item is to a resolution authorizing the sale of county surplus property from abandoned right-of-way of Holloway Road as shown on Exhibit A. I'll go ahead and show you. That's the Exhibit A, which should look very familiar. It's basically the same plat we used before. I'll back up. So the preceding one was approved, so the next step is to authorizing the sale of county surplus property. The property again is in question has an area of 29,393.96 square feet, also known as 0.675 acres. Disbursement of the property is to be per OCGA 32-7-4. Appraised value of the property is $35,600, which is approximately slightly over $1.21 per square foot. Any entity that's to acquire this property is to provide an easement to the parcel that contains the communications tower if the portion acquired is within the limits of the necessary easement for access to the tower. So like if they acquire property that's beyond the tower, that'll be irrelevant, but if it's from the tower out towards the area we abandoned towards Patrick Henry, it'll need that easement in it. And again, that's the shape, general shape of the area requested to be sold. And just back to that exhibit. And by the way, I do notice that parcel 6 does have some frontage on that abandoned right away. So, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Can I get a motion?
Motion to sell this property as described by staff with the provisions also provided in the slide presentation.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Next item on the agenda is annexation. City of Stockbridge received a request for annexation. Property located on Jolicoeur Road.
Okay. Okay, keep going. Okay, got it. All right. Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and Henry County community. The City of Stockbridge has received a request for annexation from the property owners at 2206 and 2250 Jolicoeur Road. consisting of approximately 20 acres of land. The subject property is highlighted in green with the green hashes. The future land use map designation of the property is mixed use, which supports developments up with a density of 16 units per net acre. The portion of the subject property would rezone RZ 2206 from C2 commercial to mixed use by the Henry County Board of Commissioners November 29th, 2022 with 32 conditions. Planning and zoning staff would encourage the City of Stockbridge to consider the zoning conditions placed upon the property as per the November 29th, 2022 zoning approval in their evaluation of the annexation and rezoning request. Planning staff will also encourage the City of Stockbridge to consider the newly adopted development standards for multifamily developments as per the June 20th, 2023 approval of ULDC Amendment 2301. And with that, planning staff's opinion that the annexation request would not create a significant change in the surrounding land use and the future land use designations of this property. And I'll answer any questions that you may have.
I have several questions.
Yes, sir.
The property owner initiated the request for annexation to the City of Stockbridge.
Yes, sir.
And as you just stated, it is recommended, we gave the recommendation that the City of Stockbridge follows the conditions that we put upon that property.
Yes, sir.
But are they required to follow the conditions?
They're not required, no, sir.
Okay. So is anybody from the City of Stockbridge here tonight? Okay.
Not
Is the
that I
City of
know.
Stockbridge aware that this property owner has been deficient in other properties that they've developed in the county, specifically in District 5, which is the old District 2?
Yes, sir. I'm not aware of that. I did have a conversation with the city manager about the property.
Okay.
And he's aware of the hard work we put in to make this what it should be or should look like. And, you know, he said it would follow that, but, you know.
Yeah, but he's the city manager.
Correct.
The
Okay.
council and mayor make that decision, just
Yes.
as we do as a governing board.
Right, so the
that
recommendation
can
was-
change at any point.
Correct. And so basically he was saying that he would make the recommendation as we've started here in Henry County.
Well, just to let you know my opinion, I personally have no desire whatsoever to grant this request, knowing that this property owner is deficient in other areas of the county that they've developed, and they've stated that they were going to do things in development and have not done those things.
Okay.
I think as a board, we would be remiss in go ahead and granting them basically a waiver is how I look at it, to just give them leave to just leave the county because they can't get what they want from the county when they still owe the county items.
Okay. So, one, I was not aware of that. And two, as far as, Nancy?
That I understand Commissioner Lewis's, your concern, but the statute regarding annexation and when the county can object is very specific. And so, although the landowner may have been in the past not necessarily honest in what he advised he would do with the property, that doesn't necessarily form a basis in which to properly object to an annexation.
He's trying to get around the zoning that we, and the conditions that we have on this property.
Correct.
Understood. I understand that, but the statute is very specific, and this would not fall within that. So.
Well, I understand the statute may read that way, but I personally object to people that come into this county, think they can do whatever they want, and that we just sit here and just take it.
And his developments are, I second what Commissioner Lewis has to say. All them apartments on Jonesboro Road. Take us to court.
You good with that?
I can ask for a motion from the board.
executive annexations anyway.
Chair Rail. It would be interesting if the reports that our county manager sent to us about the support work that we're doing in fire and safety and police to us around the cities be made public at some of our meetings. And they may understand some of the reasons why we're concerned about this, because the numbers that are given to us that we're having to follow up with our fire and our police and calls and 911, it's like we're running two counties without the support that we need.
I agree.
I caught part of what you were saying, Commissioner Thomas, but I think we were talking about the same thing. One of the biggest concerns that we have is our public safety.
Right.
And time after time after time, specifically on our fire side, we've run into some hiccups in terms of being able to respond or being able to go into situations where we don't know what's on the other side because there's not a good line of communication between a good line of communication that we're receiving from the cities. As you all are aware, and I think we talked to each of our commissioners specifically about the ISO rating, and I bring this up because one of the concerns the fire chief has expressed is that we don't know what's happening in the cities until we get a call. And so one of the conversations we were having, and I apologize, Madam Chair, but I was trying to find out from the county attorney if we could object on the basis of not being able to provide the services. We can provide services, but not at the level that we need to, because one, we've got to have the apparatus. We've got to have what we need, but we also need to know what we're working with. And each of the cities have their own fire marshals. And so we don't always get to see things. So I do apologize for having some sidebar, but we were trying to figure out if that would be basis for us to object. Obviously, the law is the law. We have to be able to prove that we can't provide that service. I believe that's what the county attorney was stating to me. And it comes in the form of not just saying we can't do it, but from a financial standpoint, are we able to provide it? But again, I think, Commissioner Thomas, you were asking specifically about public safety, and if you want members of our team.
You give us a wonderful report every month about the support services that we're rendering by city. And you break it down into public safety and fire and 911 and calls. So we know all the support work that we're doing. However, we know it. I don't think the public knows it and understand why there's a bitter taste when this comes before us. Because again, we're being asked to supply additional services that are not really within the county, unincorporated county, but now in the city. And I was sharing with Madam Chair, that maybe that report needs to be even more revealing, so people understand why this bitter taste always comes in our mouths when this comes before us.
Yes, ma'am.
We object.
So, Madam Chair,
we can't provide the services.
So, Madam Chair, you all are going to.
I don't have enough fire trucks.
Okay, but y'all are going to need to make a motion.
I make a motion that we object.
I most wholeheartedly second that motion that we object.
And is that objection, I'm sorry, I know there is a motion on the floor, but is that objection based on?
Public safety services.
Okay.
My understanding is there are three circumstances: the proposed change in zoning or land use, a proposed increase in density, the infrastructure demand on the area. So if it's the belief of the board that there's going to be a proposed increase in density, and as a result you're not going to be able to deliver services, and the county is going to provide documentation that shows that is something that would be a actual objection allowed under the law.
That's my motion.
And I second that motion because this particular developer has done just that. There is a development on Jonesboro Road right now that is far more than the density that is allowed. The density that we allow is 16 units per acre. They have one that is probably nearly 30 units per acre. The same developer. So exactly what the county attorney has just stated is exactly why we're objecting. because they do developments and they do not follow the letter of the conditions that we set forth as a county. And we're not going to stand for it.
And they put our firefighters at risk when they are having to respond, and public safety, because we still back up to the cities. So, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the rejection? Motion carries. Objection for the next one, too.
That is such a funny joke. I know you don't mean that now.
All right, so, again, City of Stockbridge did receive a request for annexation of property along Brandon Road adjacent to Hickory Flat Elementary School. This is the subject property outlined in the green with the green hash. This is a little bit better picture. The blue you see is actually the school. Again, the property is adjacent to the school. So a concurrent rezoning, RZ 2202, a comprehensive plan amendment, Comp Amendment 2201, and a conditional use, CU 2201, requests were submitted for the subject properties on February 3rd, 2022. While both the rezoning and the comprehensive plan amendment requests received a recommendation by the Zoning Advisory Board on May 12th, 2022, the conditional use request was tabled by the applicant before the public hearing was held. The future land use map designation designates the subject properties. One is low density, which supports development with density up to 2 dwelling units per acre. And the other property, portion of the property is zone MDR, medium density residential, which supports up to 6 dwelling units per acre. The net density proposed by the development was 1.96 dwelling units per acre. However, when staff did the calculation, the net density we came up with was 2.54 dwelling units per acre. So if planning staff's calculations are correct, the proposed development exceeds the density supported within the portions of the property designated low density residential, which uses the Henry County City Joint 2040 Comprehensive Plan. So therefore, it's planning staff's opinion that the annexation request would create a significant change in the surrounding land uses and the future land use designation of the properties. So therefore, staff recommend any objection. I'll take any questions.
Commissioner Thomas, this is your area, isn't it?
I have no questions. I'd like to put forth the motion. The motion is to object to this annexation based upon the outlines of the staff has presented to us, in addition to the statement that was made. And Nancy, if you'd like to read that again, I can't remember it word for word, in addition to that statement as well.
So the proposed change in zoning and land use is a basis for a proper objection in this case, and that was what the outlined.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's, I'm objecting based upon the outline is presented by staff.
Okay.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Do I have another one to object to? Yes, sir. Attorney planners. Next item on the agenda, County Attorney Resolution approving agreement with the Henry County Development Authority regarding Mighty Hero Home project. I'm so sorry, I always, yes. And I believe we have representatives here from the Developmental Authority. How you doing, Attorney Meadows? And I know that we have Attorney Strickland here for Mighty Heroes as well.
Okay. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and remaining members of the board. As you may recall, back on November the 1st of 2022, representatives from the Mighty Hero Home came before the Board of Commissioners to speak to you all about a proposal in which they created a wraparound project that provided housing for U.S. Army veterans. The Mighty Hero Homes wanted to build a campus with the wraparound services that provided housing and wanted to work with local government in developing that. This, at the time, was a conceptual site plan for the Mighty Hero Homes. We have since given you out a flyer. They've changed that, and I believe Stephanie has passed the flyer out to each of you, which is the new model that the Mighty Hero Homes hopes to complete, which has a wraparound center and consists of tiny homes surrounding that center. So the county actually went about looking to see if they can identify land that the Mighty Hero Home could utilize to build this campus to include the wraparound building along with the tiny homes. So there is some property off of 160 Henry Parkway, which is near here. As you can see in the first map, the Henry County owns a lot of the land around that property. And on the second map, you see the red dot or what have you on the second map. Across from that is the actual area in which is an option for the Mighty Hero Homes to build their U.S. Veterans campus. So the issue became, how does Mighty Hero Home lease the property? So Henry County ordinance only allows Henry County to provide short-term leases of its property. And so what happened in this particular case, I got with the Henry County Development Authority attorney, along with the attorney for Mighty Hero Homes, who's sitting here today. I don't know if you want me to refer to you. Brian Strickland, attorney Brian Strickland. I didn't know how you wanted me to refer to him. We got together and formulated a ground lease and lease that would allow for Henry County. The Henry County would enter a ground lease with Henry County Development Apartment, basically conveying the property to Henry County Development Authority. The Henry County Development Authority which can do a long-term lease would then lease that property to the Mighty Hero Homes. So that is the structure that we are proposing in order to allow the Mighty Hero Homes to lease the land to build a wraparound project. In negotiating this contract, I believe that we've been negotiating for a long time, and we've come as close as we can possibly get in regards to terms for the agreement, and I'm going to go over some of the terms for the ground lease agreement. I'm also going to go over some of the terms for the lease agreement between the Mighty Hero Homes and the Henry County Development Authority, which the board will have to approve before it can be executed. After I present, my understanding is Attorney Strickland would like to present to you some terms that he would propose, an alternative to terms that I propose. And it's not a lot. I think we've come basically kind of come to an agreement on most of those terms, but I'm going to go through them now. So with the ground lease agreement between Henry County and the Henry County Development Authority, the term of the lease when we convey the land will be until December the 31st of 2073, and that's going to be for a 50-year time period, so that they can actually lease the land then to the Mighty Hero Homes for a term period equaling 50 years, up to 50 years. The fixed rent on it will be $10 for, I think it's $10 for the delivery in advance of the fixed rent for the entire term of the agreement. So they'll be, the Henry County Development Authority, the $10 is just basically on all conveyances or what have you. There has to be some type of consideration, and that's just the basic consideration for most property conveyances. So Article 18 is an assignment, mortgage, and sublease of authority's interest. And what it does, as I explained earlier, this gives the Henry County Development Authority the authority to actually lease the property to the Mighty Hero Homes. So that's going to be in Article 18 of the agreement. And I provided you a copy of the agreement, and I didn't want to go through all of the terms, but just highlight the terms to give you all an understanding of how the agreement functions, and of course the terms that there may be some disagreement between myself and the attorney for Mighty Hero Homes for the board's consideration. Another term in the lease is the ground lease is the request for sale. Basically, what Article 30 does is allows the Henry County Development Authority to come back to the Board of Commissioners to request the approval of the sale of the land within a 3-year time period. And this will, if they sell the land under this provision, they will have to sell the land in accordance to the actual state statutes and in accordance to the ordinances of Henry County, which would require for there to be a public sale of the property. So this is a provision that I think myself and Attorney Strickland had some disagreement on as to whether it should be actually in the agreement. And I'll let Attorney Strickland explain to you why Mighty Hero Homes would like this provision to be in the agreement. So they did propose a provision. This is the modification of provision that I did based on what they provided to me. And this is what, if we do have this provision within the agreement, that the the provision reads as follows. I'm sorry. So now I'm going to turn to you about the lease between the Henry County Development Authority and the Mighty Hero Homes. Let's see here. So first, provision 2.4 talks about the construction commencement and completion date. So basically, although the county is conveying the property to the Henry County Development Authority and then to the Mighty Hero Homes, these Mighty Hero Home has a certain time period in which to raise the funds in order to finance this project. So what they will have is a 3-year time period to get 90% of the overall funding for their project, which they've indicated they will be able to do. If they're not able to do so, then what will happen in that circumstance is the Henry County Development Authority can terminate that lease and return the land back to the county. However, in provision 2, as you can see, for good cause, the Mighty Hero Homes can come to the Board of Commissioners and say, hey, that 3-year period has passed, we haven't collected our money, we have good cause as to why we haven't collected our finances, will you give us an extension? In the Henry County Board of Commissioners, they can approve an extension or not. If they don't approve an extension, that lease will then terminate between the Henry County Development Authority and Mighty Hero Homes. The next provision of the agreement that I want to highlight for you is the term agreement. So basically, this lease agreement will be for a term of 30 years. It'll start 30 years, it will be for 30 years after the execution of this agreement. It also gives the option for the Mighty Hero Homes to renew the agreement for an additional 20 years. So in all, the Mighty Hero Homes can have the property up to a 50-year time period under the lease. As you can see in provision 4.1, which addresses the rent, basically the Mighty Hero Home is asking that for each consecutive year they pay a rent to the Henry County Development Authority in the amount of $1 for the property. And then as part of the lease, there's also the provision that asks for a request for sale. And what this does, it allows the Mighty Hero Homes within a 3-year time period to make a request to the Henry County Development Authority to sell a property. If that request is made, then that request then comes to the Board of Commissioners. You all can approve the property for sale. If you do, you would have to declare the property surplus and place the property on the open market. It is believed that within a 3-year time period, the Mighty Hero Homes would be able to purchase the property. However, the lease that is on the property will consistently burden the land for the 50-year time period, regardless of who the property owner is, and the terms of the lease will be carried out. And so this may affect the price of the property on the open market if the property is sold within a 3-year time period. So I just wanted to point that out, and I believe that Attorney Strickland is going to discuss that matter further. Are there any questions?
We want y'all to just go on and get through this. I want to hear what everybody got to say.
Okay, well, I'll turn it over to Mr. Meadows, Attorney Meadows.
Good evening, everyone. Let me start out by saying the Development Authority is here and happy to do what we can to assist the Board of Commissioners in what you want to do as far as this project is concerned. The Development Authority has got a bit more flexibility than you have in terms of doing a transaction like that, and that's why we're in the middle of it. In order for you to be able to do anything like this, you'd end up having to do what ultimately they're hoping they'll be able to do, which is for you to declare the property to be surplus and to sell it. But at this point, the developers of this project, and they are well-intentioned and they have worked really, really hard to come up with this very, very idealistic project. But they don't have the money to buy the project, to buy the property from you. You would have to declare it surplus. It would go in the open market. Anybody could come along and buy the property. But you do have the option of entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Development Authority. And the reason that it's set up for 30 years and then a 20-year renewal is because there's a limit to how long a lease can be in an intergovernmental agreement like this. Hospital's limit is 40 years. In this instance, the limit is 30 years. So there's a provision where you enter into an intergovernmental agreement, you transfer the property to the Development Authority for the purpose of the Development Authority doing what you want to do as far as this project is concerned. We want to be careful, and just for history's sake, this is basically the same kind of transaction, and some of you may not realize this, the same kind of transaction that the Mercer campus next door has with the county. The property that the Mercer facility is located on is actually owned by the county. There's a land lease to the Development Authority, and then we did a deal with the Mercer. And if that's not later renewed, ultimately that property will come back to the county. Same thing here. But of course, the intent is they want to eventually be able to sell these houses to the individual veterans. And so that's why there's this option in there for the purchase. That is convoluted, I agree. It would require you doing what you've already done tonight when you declared some property surplus so that it could be sold. So that's what ultimately would be required. But we would have to come back to you before that can be done. So ultimately, I'm going to step back and just say we will work with the county attorney and with the Developers Council to make this work to the extent that you as the Board of Commissioners request us to do so. We've had a couple of situations, as you know, in the past where there was a question as to whether or not the whole commission wanted us to do something. We just want to make sure you want us to do something, we will do what we can to help out as far as this transaction is concerned. We'll serve as the intermediary. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I think you probably want to hear from Brian Strickland.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, members of the Board of Commission. I wear my attorney hat tonight, Brian Strickland, here on behalf of Mighty Hero Homes. And I started volunteering with them earlier this year to try to help come to this agreement. And I won't rehash what's already been said. I think with the language, if you can go back on your slide that shows the IGA language. On the language we have currently that's being proposed to you, there's really only one change I'm asking you to make at this point. the ground lease. There we go. As Mr. Meadows mentioned, the goal here with this group is to have this development, have veterans that are in need in our community have a place they can go live. But the goal is ultimately to have it where they can actually own this property, get them to a place where you can give fee simple ownership of these homes. The challenge we have is the county will still own the property. Obviously, we cannot deed over that property. So we went back and forth with this and ultimately arrived at, with Mighty Hero Homes, with the board, that their goal is long-term prosperity for these veterans, which means we're not just going to give them a place to live right now on county land. And so they've asked, well, I've worked with the county attorney and Mr. Meadows to come up with the language you see here that was modified a little bit today. And again, with one change, I'd like to request this board consider. This is the language that would go in the ground lease. And this is where the language is already in the next slide you had a minute ago from the lease with Mighty Hero Homes and the authority. I'm okay with that language. It says that that Mighty Hero Homes can within 3 years say, I want to have a chance to buy this property. At that point, the authority really doesn't have any more discretion. It gets turned over to you guys. This is where that right comes, though. If you look at looking at this draft, we're going to get down to the third line, about halfway across. The county shall, within 30 days of its receipt of said notice from the authority, and this is where the authority would give notice that Mighty Hero Homes wants to buy this property, wants to have the property sold. The county may approve the sale of the land and declare the land to be surplus. I think it's a typo in that the beginning of that, the county shall, within 30 days of its receipt, declare the land to be surplus. That was the original language I had. And then I think the intent from the county attorney was you would strike that first part and just have the county may approve the sale. I would ask that you just strike the language the county may, and then it's automatic. It still goes back before this board, but the issue has been settled in the agreement that you have between the development authority and the county that in the event Mighty Hero Homes has raised their money, is ready to move forward, they could actually cause this board to consider declaring the property to be surplus property. I think it creates a little bit of confusion if it says the board may at that point. I think it needs to be shall. So that's the only change I'm going to propose in this section is removing the words the county may in that line. The other change that was not mentioned, and they have a copy of the lease in their packet, I believe. Is that right, Nancy? Yes. So in the lease itself that you have, there's a section, it's paragraph 7.3, that is entitled Board Membership. And what that section says is throughout the terms of this lease between the authority and Mighty Hero Homes, that there'll be at least one board member of the board of directors of Mighty Hero Homes that shall be designated by the county, and at least one board member of Mighty Hero Homes from the Henry County Development Authority. I think it's problematic as they're counseling this to have it to where this board or the authority will actually put board members on this nonprofit. I don't think it works, and I think it's something that actually would not be in anybody's best interest. This is a national group that's going to hopefully do this around the country, and it doesn't work for the model that we have to say that automatically you'll have board members that'll be put on the board for this nonprofit by the county government. If the county does have concerns with having an interest in this or other provisions that have lots of abilities for the county to go in and inspect the property and be very involved with what's going on with this project. But one consideration you could have is adding the language there that says after commencement of construction as contemplated in this lease, then you would actually have board members added. The goal is there'll be no construction before until the property is actually listed for sale. And so there probably will not be any construction of this on this property until this has already been declared surplus property anyway. So I think that would resolve our issue, and that if for some reason Mighty Hero Homes decides not to want to purchase the land, you then could have somebody on the board that you appoint. Those are only changes that we're proposing to the current agreement as you have. I think this is a win-win for the county and for veterans in our community as well. I appreciate the willingness some of y'all have expressed along the way, and also Development Authority, in making this process work. I think it's also a big win in making sure that the county can step out of the way and let Mighty Hero Homes come in and actually buy this property, with the goal being these folks that we're helping now one day be homeowners themselves. So happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Okay. I'd like to ask Drew to come up and just kind of recap about your program and what you are proposing.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, Board of Commissioners. It's an honor to present before you today. The issue is there are 33,000 to 75,000 homeless veterans in our country today. We simply find that unacceptable. These men and women sacrificed, gave of their bodies, their time for their families to defend the freedoms and give us the opportunity to do what we're doing today. And we feel we owe them a debt of gratitude. Our model is for our veterans to own our homes. Our model is for a veteran to go from homeless to homeowner within a period of 2 years by nature of following certain guidelines and opportunities. We believe this is a wonderful opportunity for Henry County, City of McDonough, to be the very first Mighty Hero home base in the United States, where our intention is to build 450 to house each and every homeless veteran that exists in our country today. We will attract, and already are, but we will attract to this county a lot of interest from organizations, cities, and municipalities throughout the country who are interested in replicating this model, helping bring a Mighty Hero home solution to their city. Our model is, I can go into detail, I'd love to meet with you individually at a later date, but our research has shown that we are the only organization in the country that exists for the sole purpose of providing veterans permanent homes from which they never have to move and which they ultimately can own. We want this. I live in McDonough. I'm a McDonough resident. Our headquarters is here in McDonough, and we are be honored for McDonough to be our pilot location. And we think that's an opportunity to show that the Henry County Board of Commissioners, Henry County citizens, revere and respect and love our veterans and give them the opportunity to be able to own a home in our base. In the card before you, you see our services there. There'll be 84 homes on this base. The larger building that you see is our community center. In that community center, there will be health services offered. There will be a training and career center. There'll be commercial gardens on that property. Southern Bell Farms will be our partner here in this area to help teach our veterans how to grow crops, sell those to local restaurants and organizations like Thompson Market and Pasta Max for purposes of, for therapeutic purposes, but also for gainful employment. We'll also have canine training facilities on this. Every veteran on our base will be given the opportunity to be a certified canine trainer to train service dogs and companion dogs for other veterans throughout the country. We believe there's a need for 10,000 of those right now. Our training partner, Healing for Heroes, doesn't have the manpower to do so, so we're going to help them train our veterans to provide them, to let them be a force multiplier in training those dogs. Other amenities, our bases will be gated, they'll be well lit, they'll be secured. As a matter of fact, when you come into this intersection, your headlights at night will shine directly through our gates and into our community center. Our community center will again provide the opportunity as a gathering space, the training that our veterans will need to receive gainful employment as well as health services, rather than have to travel for hours and hours to a VA medical center to get the attention. But we'd be honored to have the opportunity to erect our first base here in Henry County. We're so grateful for the consideration.
So Nancy, the ask today is for us to enter into an agreement with the Development Authority.
Right. So basically it's twofold. And just to kind of go back a little bit, I do want to go back to Article 30, the request for sale. There were a lot of edits done on today or what have you. And so there is an edit that I do need to make that is different from what Attorney Strickland indicated. So it should read, the county within 30 days of the receipt of said notice from the authority may approve the sale of land, declare the land to be surplus property, and cause the land to be sold. And that was intentional on my part that I put in the word may, because 3 years from now, we just don't know what the Board of Commissioners, what you all will look like. I hope you all are still here. But we did not want to bind the board and give them the option to make a different decision in the 30-day time period as to whether or not they wanted to, 3-year time period as to whether or not they wanted to sell the land. So what we're asking the board to do here today, or at least the Mighty Hero Homes is asking the board to do, is to, number one, approve the ground lease, resolve to approve the ground lease between the Henry County and Henry County Development Authority, and to approve the lease between Mighty Hero Homes and the Henry County Development Authority, because the Henry County Development Authority, by the ground lease, can only enter the sublease if the Board of Commissioners approve the sublease. So the resolution will basically reads that you're approving both the ground lease agreement between Henry County and the Henry County Development Authority, and then the Henry County Development Authority and the Mighty Hero Homes. So hopefully that makes sense and it's not confusing.
So I guess the question that I have, and I'm going to let my board members ask questions as well, is that why would we enter a 50-year lease and then not give them the opportunity to purchase the land?
Well, they would have the option to.
Not if they may.
Excuse me?
Not if you have the word may in there.
Well,
I guess that's what my thing is.
Well, I have the word may in there or what have you, because I do think the board, once a request is made, I don't think it should be automatic. That's just my opinion. I think the board should come back on. Huh?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that we just have different perspectives. And as I said earlier, I think the board should consider it or what have you. So, you know, whatever the board wants to do, I'm definitely willing to go, we were willing to go forward with.
Okay.
So.
Commissioner Wilson, do you have any questions?
Yes, ma'am, I have a couple. So does McDonough, this is in the city of McDonough, do they have any concerns about this?
The city, I don't know what the city McDonough's concerns are, if they have any.
Can one of you all speak on that?
And Drew may want to add to this, but Drew has presented to the city council. I know I've spoken with Mayor Vincent, members of the council. Ultimately, the zoning falls back on them, and that's cited in this lease as well. So they haven't taken an official vote, I guess, on anything. There's nothing really to vote on, but they're very much aware of all this.
So wouldn't a cleaner version of this, if we could do a land swap with the city of McDonough, and then the city of McDonough puts this property under their housing authority, wouldn't that be a cleaner version of how they could gain the property?
I have not worked with the City of McDonough Housing Authority. All I can tell you is the work that went into this has been with our development authority, and so they would have to start over again, the process. And so we have everybody at the table now, would be my short answer on that. And from a bigger perspective, even getting back at the issue of may versus shall, what this group is going to now do, hopefully after tonight, is now be able to say we have property secured. This allows them to start getting the fundraising they need. We believe there's people lined up ready to donate to this, and then hopefully it's no issue about purchasing the property if you guys will have that shall language there. But that's important too, because if a donor says, well, you may get the chance to do this versus it's going to happen if you do your part. And so that also goes along with why we're asking for that language tonight.
So to shorten up all the language in here, we're basically going to tie up this property for 2 years. 3 years.
3 years.
So they can raise funds, and then it's going to go out on public auction, and hopefully they're going to be the highest bidder.
That would be best case scenario, but what you're really doing is tying the land up for a 50-year lease.
But you mentioned that they want to purchase it in
Right.
3 years.
That's right.
And so if that purchase don't take place in 3 years, then they'll fall back on the 50-year lease.
That's right.
Now, so basically, they're going to be leasing the property. They're going to put structures on it. If the county decides they want to sell the property with all the structures on it, they can sell the property with the structures on it. But the Mighty Hero team may not be the ones to buy it. It may be an investor. And so the investor comes in, like they're doing all these subdivisions, buying rental properties. They could come buy up all the property with the fixed, with all the structures on it, correct? And then they'll be without any homes.
The safeguard in that is twofold. One is the intent would be best case scenario. There'll be no construction. There'll be fundraising right now. And then so there'll be no construction in that 3-year period. The second safeguard, the most important part, is the language we've included says this lease runs with the land. So even if some investor comes in, they would just stand in your shoes, and they're going to be subjected to all the terms of this lease. They may get a board member on Mighty Hero Homes, that language would stay in there. Another good reason to take that language out. Or they may get the ability to look at the finances, Mighty Hero Homes, go and inspect the property, make sure the $10 is paid. But either way, you're tying, if you vote for this, you're tying up the land with this lease. We believe on our side of this, and I think it's been alluded to as well, it's actually a better scenario if we not only just tie it up, but also hopefully get to a situation where they can purchase it. Then it's no longer the county's property at that point.
But they'll be bidding against someone else as well.
That's right. And that's one of the things I discussed with them is you can't change Georgia law,
Right.
and Georgia law has a process, and we cited that in this paragraph, both paragraphs that we added, that says you're going to comply with Georgia law and your ordinances, which reflect that when it comes to surplus property. So it would be put out for bid, but someone would be bidding on that as to be the new person holding the lease. And so I'm not sure if an investor is not going to have interest in that, because they're going to be looking at over 50 years if they can do anything with this property.
Okay,
But that would be a risk that Mighty Hero Homes would be taking in this.
Right. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Okay, Commissioner Robinson. Okay, Commissioner England.
Section 7.3 was another article that y'all had some questions on, the section. My question is, Nancy, is your language or the one that's being provided here that you're recommending?
7.3?
Mm-hmm. The board
Yes.
membership?
Yes, this was a language that we started out with, and this agreement has gone back and forth multiple times. So the first time it came to my attention that there was an issue with this provision was basically today. Was
Last
it?
week.
No, I don't think. This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it wasn't until that time that it was my understanding that there was an issue with the board membership. I think one of the things that was a concern when we were first discussing this is that the county have some type of oversight, not only on the architectural, structural, the use, that kind of stuff. They wanted to have some say in what occurred on the property. I understand it's a national board. My understanding is the founder, you're locally here in Henry County. You're starting your business out here in Henry County, so I understand it's national, but this is the first one. It is in Henry County, and my understanding is Henry County did want some type of say in what was going on the property. However, if the board would like to reserve it for the 3-year time period, I have no objection to that. It's just up to the board as to how much authority they would want, or whether or not they would want a member to be on the board. So.
Is that Attorney Strickland's opinion, 3-year time period?
That was my compromise. I think you could just make it after the commencement of construction, not worry about 3 years. Because once you start seeing construction out here, at that point, if they aren't purchasing this, the county might have an interest in having those board members, if you want to have that language, if that is a concern. I will state the next paragraph below that, you don't see all this here, it's in your packet, has a paragraph that requires annual accounting reporting from Mighty Hero Homes. So I think this group's going to be doing a lot more, hopefully, than just running one facility here. You would still get all the financial records. I still don't believe you need a board member, but if it is a concern, you could at least make it after commencement of construction.
And question for Development Authority, Attorney Meadows, do y'all want someone from the Development Authority to be?
We don't have a strong opinion on that. Commissioner, the format of this actually began with the format for what was originally the Kinsley Grace project, and that project had gone through 2 previous county attorneys, so we decided it was probably something that was good to start with. That was in that deal. From the Development Authority standpoint, it's not a big deal.
Thank you.
My board has not voted on this document yet, so obviously they might express a little different opinion than what I'm telling you, but I'm telling you based upon the previous discussions.
Yes, thank you for coming back to me, Madam Chair. I did have a question because Commissioner Wilson brought it up. So was there a reason why we didn't try to work with the city of McDonough. Because when he's talking, he's saying that this is the first in Henry County, but more so he mentioned McDonough. So were there any interactions, or if there was not anything with city of McDonough, then why not?
Well, I would say that early on we tried to do MOU with the city of McDonough. We asked them if they would enter an MOU with the county to allow the county to make certain decisions regarding, I believe, permitting. We did not hear back from the city of McDonough other than them making an open records request. So other than that occurring, we have not had any interaction with the city of McDonough regarding this project. My understanding is Mr. Drew Walston, did present at the city of McDonough. He did ask me to attend. However, we were having a Board of Commissioners meeting, I believe, on the same date, so I was not able to attend that meeting.
Yes, we have met with the city and Mayor Vincent numerous occasions. I won't speak for her, but I find her response has been very favorable, very supportive of what we're doing, and we're actually working with the development group there on zoning requirements. We've submitted the packet, and we are working very closely with them as the entity that we ultimately will have to pull permits from and be governed by their restrictions.
Fast. Can we look at Nancy doing it until property is sold or I should say purchased by Mighty Hero Homes, that we have someone that resides on that board?
Yes, we can make that change if the board chooses to do so. I have no issue with that.
Can you? Okay. You say until the property is
sold?
sold?
Until the property is sold or purchased by Mighty Hero Homes. Because at the point we would still own the property.
Mm-hmm. But you would still, that would be effective today. If you vote on this, you'd actually now have a board member, if that's your intent. But that goes a little further than what I was offering. If you wanted somebody there, at least wait until the county has a bigger interest if dirt's being moved. I mean, that's obviously y'all's decision.
So what I'm trying to make sure happens is we still own the property. Y'all aren't able to purchase the property, that we have someone that resides on that board.
Then I think
y'all can work y'all's language how you want to, but I think if the county has an interest in the property until that sale, we need to have someone that's residing on that board.
I think the way to accomplish that would be to tie it to construction, because that's what the group is saying. They won't do construction until they purchase it. Well, if they end up doing construction, haven't purchased it, they've gone a different direction. And at that point, when dirt's being moved, you'd have a board member at that point. That would probably be a better way if that's what you want to do.
Commissioner Lewis.
We have a couple of questions. And thank you for all of you doing the presentation. I guess my question is, so you said that I guess the sale will be triggered in 3 years if you have raised enough money to do construction. Is that correct or no?
So basically, in a 3-year time period, they can make a request for the sale. So they can trigger a request for the sale of the property to be placed on the market. So they will let the Henry County Development Authority know. The Henry County Development Authority will let you know, and then the Board of Commissioners will have to approve a surplus and then place the property on sale, on an open market where anyone can purchase the property. But the hopes are that they will have the funds at that time period. And with the lease burdening the land for the next 50 years, it would probably bring down the value so that they would be able to afford the property.
Yeah, so I want to know what is the threshold for you to start construction? Meaning what monetary figure do you need to have before you start construction? Because it seems like a lot of that is, this whole deal is tied upon whether you're doing construction or not. Because if you're not going to do construction, I don't think we should have the ability to have to trigger a sale if you have not raised the requisite amount of money to do construction, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Within 3 years, we hope to not only have raised the money for this property, but at least 10 to 20 others. We are actively fundraising. We have donors that are waiting, quite frankly, for a sign to go in the ground, for us to have a sign raising initiative here in Henry County, so that this is a requirement to some foundations before they can donate, that land has to be acquired. So having a lease in our name fulfills that obligation and gives us the opportunity to pursue grants and pursue relationships that will help us raise the money. This is going to be a $16 million base. Our average base will be $15 to $16 million. And quite frankly, we're in this to finish the job. We're not going to try to raise money and celebrate one base. So we're in 6 to 7 other cities and counties right now across the country, having very similar conversations to get the ball rolling. So as soon as we get cranking on this one, we're going to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Okay, and then one
So
last
specifically, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say specifically, in Article 2, it speaks that the minimum amount that they believe that the funding for the project will be with $15 million, and they have to raise 90% of $15 million before they can start construction.
Thank you. So second question is, so I know you say you want to turn it into fee simple ownership by the veterans. I guess thinking long term, and this may be more of a thought, but say a veteran purchases a property and then they pass, what happens to that property? Because the original intent is for veterans. So how do you handle that situation?
Yes, sir. If the veteran actually gets to the point of acquiring the property, and as the owner of that property, there will be a portion in the sale agreement that property will always be reserved for a veteran and for a veteran that's at risk of homelessness. So his family will still own that, but his family would then have the opportunity under a HUD-VASH voucher system to be able to provide a home to a veteran and receive from the Housing Authority a monthly stipend for providing that home to a homeless veteran. So it would be an asset to that veteran's family after he or she passes, that they could actually leverage. But these homes will always be reserved, and these bases will be reserved for veterans.
Okay. I have one more question. Is there going to be a cap or a limit to the purchase amount for the veterans? Is this is this going to be an open market thing, or is it just going to be, like say, just throw a number out there, $25,000 is the purchase price for a home?
Yes, it will be depending upon the local conditions and the local market. So that veteran will know when they move onto a base, there'll be a scale based on within 2 years. And if some veterans won't qualify within 2 years, and they will be able to continue to live there under either a HUD-VASH voucher or self-pay or other provisions. Once they move in, as long as they prove themselves to be a good citizen, they will never have to move from that base. Some very well may never qualify to own the home. Some on year 2 and 1 day will be that'll be the first thing they do is just take ownership of that home. So the price for that home will be predetermined and preset based on a forecast of when that might occur, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road.
And so the proceeds of the sale will then go to whom?
The proceeds will stay within the foundation, the nonprofit 501c3 foundation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do have several questions, but let me say before I ask these questions, I'm a proud mom of a veteran that's active, almost 25 years in services. So this is very important to me, and I don't take it lightly. I have family members who have died and some who are now on special walkers and special devices because they serve our country well. So it's very personal. But in my mind, if we're going to take care of veterans, we need to take care of them right and not put a bandage on it. So the first thing I want to know, where's your proposal? Have you submitted a complete proposal to this board? A written proposal?
To this board?
Yes.
We haven't, in light of the process that we were instructed to follow, but if you need one, we certainly would be happy and willing to do so.
I think anyone that comes before this board with money need to bring a proposal. That means everybody in this room should be able to stand up and say, I want money too. There are several people out here who have nonprofits. There are several people out here who take care of veterans, several people out here who take care of the homeless, and I would like to see a complete proposal. That means starting with executive summary, down to a budget. We don't have that. I don't know what I'm working with. If I was in my company, I would say to you, where's my proposal? Where's the budget? You don't have one. All we have right now is working with the fact you're taking care of veterans. Another thing I want to ask, you said this is a pilot. So you've not done this before. So that means a lot of the questions that we are asking, it's not in any type of SOPs, it's not in an operational agreement. You don't have one. You're just kind of telling us how you want to operate. You don't have an operation book that we can look at this point in time. Like my commissioner stated, if somebody dies, what's the process? If the family dies, what else is the process? Okay, if you're going to rent these and use the Veteran Association, from what I can understand, the last vouchers were like $27 something per veteran, $2,700 plus that you can get per veteran. That's a lot of money to come back to an organization. We don't have enough information, in my opinion. It has not been vetted correctly to know what we are working with. And Nancy, your presentation to me made me feel like this is a done deal. You have already decided, here it is, take it. No, this is not a done deal. This needs to be vetted completely. The next question I have, maybe to my administration, who in our administration has vetted this? How would this be listed on the financial profile of the county? What's the value of the land? Can anybody tell me the value of the land? How many acres are we talking about? We haven't heard anybody say how many acres we're talking about. 10, 12, 5, 1, I don't know. How many acres is it? Anybody know?
Sure.
Can you speak to the question, Commissioner?
Like looking at 20.31 acres, ma'am.
20.31 acres. What is the value of the land now? Has that been appraised, Sherry? Do you have that?
We have not done an appraisal.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that, and correct me, Sheriff, if I'm wrong, your staff has not completely vetted this process as how it will impact us financially, our financial portfolio, the value of the land, what we actually need to do. The impact to the county has not yet been determined. Has that been determined?
So we did receive and I think you asked Mr. Walston about a proposal. He did present to this board a portfolio outlining what he was looking to do. I will say this, no, we have not done an appraisal or financial report because we're not selling the property. We're still going to own the property. And so the only thing we would look at this point is just the transaction in terms of them leasing the property from the county. But we have not done any type of financial portfolio because we're not exchanging any funds outside of whatever this board agrees that transaction amount will be.
Okay.
But I'm trying to see if I can find what was sent to the board, and I'll try to see if I can get it printed and put it up there for you.
I do have the PowerPoint, if that's what you're referring to. I'm talking about a complete proposal, as if you're going to a bank, because in essence, we're the bank right now, because we have the land. Okay? I'm looking for a proposal, and I don't have one. So I'm looking for this to be a complete vetted process. What is the cost to the county? What are we losing? How will we regain that? Because there is a cost. There's no such thing as just giving it away. There is a cost somewhere. Another question was asked, who actually owned this land in case Mighty Homes fold? How long have you been in business as Mighty Homes?
Been organized since 2021, March 2021.
March 2021. So you are relatively new nonprofit. And I know there are organizations that will not give nonprofits donation if they're less than 5 or 10 years old because they're looking for the financial stability of that nonprofit. We don't have anything to look at your financial stability. I did go on your website. I did read it. I did click the 2022 financials. It would not open, so I could not read it. I'm not sure if I needed a code to get into it or not, but I could not. Then you mentioned also that you want us to transfer this land to the development authorities because they have leeway to do things that we cannot do. Now, that's a sweet way of saying, okay. That's a sweet way of saying if I was out in the street, who's going to launder this money for me? Who's going to launder this land for me to get it where it needs to be? That's not what we should be doing. The next thing I want to say is that infrastructure in this area, does this area have any type of infrastructure on it? Any type of lights or gas or sanitations on it now? Is there any type of infrastructure on this land? If so, did we have an investment in that? Do we know?
So, Commissioner Thomas, the property in question, and I'm not sure if the county attorney placed the map on the overhead. I don't know if she has one with her, but it's at the end of this road. It's a vacant tract of land. As of today, we're not receiving anything off of it. The county owns the parcel of land. It's ours. So there are no utilities on the property. It's just a tract with trees and tree coverage.
Okay, no infrastructure's out there. That's something I wanted to know. Didn't know if we had invested in that or not. The other thing is, it says something about a 30-year lease and a 20-year lease renewal automatically, or an option to do that. But yet, for 3 years, they have an option to start construction. What does that mean by starting construction? Instead of saying a percentage of the houses will be complete, or infrastructure will be complete, it just says construction start. That could mean moving dirt from left to the right. What does it mean?
So construction can start once 90% of the funding has actually been collected. So 90% of $15 million, once that's collected, they can start construction. They still have to go through all the permitting process that any other property that wants to build in Henry County would have to go through.
Okay.
So, and I just kind of want to go back, as I explained when I first started the presentation, the ordinances for Henry County allows for short-term leases. The Henry County Development Authority, and this is very much common for authorities to use governmental properties, what have you, to lease land or sell land on the county's behalf, because they have authorities that the county may not necessarily be able to do. So this is not any way or shape trying to do anything illegal. We're just trying to utilize the process that's already been used in the county in order to carry out the Mighty Hero Homes if the board chooses or votes to approve the ground lease and the lease in this circumstance.
I understand that, Nancy, and thank you so much for your clarification. I heard you say Mercer University, not you, but it was mentioned that Mercer University has done something of this nature, and I'm glad that they did, because it's serving students, it's serving veterans, it serves moms, it serves the community. It has a wider range of people that it serves. I understand that. So thank you for clarifying. It doesn't feel good to say what I want to say, but we need to know this. We need to know who is going to ultimately own this land and how will it be used, okay? The next thing I want to know, too, because we've often talked about at this board that we need more land for parks, we need more land for recreation centers. We are talking about a public safety training center that we need land for. We need land for senior centers as well. So my question is, why would we give up land when we talk about we need land? According to one of the conversations that we've had, we're looking at taking land across the street to build a judicial center on, as well as some administrative offices, because we don't have enough land of our own. So we have 22 acres here that's available. We're willing to give up land when we need land for other buildings as well. So that concerns me. And it looks like to me, again, we haven't vetted everything we need to do. I want to also say, I was going to mention, I think Johnny had a very good idea, because one of the things that I mentioned, Henry County does not have a housing authority. It could very well be that we could do something in partnership with Mighty Homes, but through a housing authority. If a task force were put together to determine how to put a housing authority in that area, then we would be in control of the land itself, not give up the asset itself, set aside units specifically for the Mighty Homes or for veterans, set aside units for homeless or for single moms or whatever, or to be able to cap the rent itself. So there are the options that we've not looked at that concerns me before we give up an asset for $1 a year for 30 years. Or maybe 50 years, with an option of maybe buying it in 3 years, and anybody can buy it on open market. In my opinion, we have one presentation before us that does not consider the other options that we need to consider as a county before giving up an access. I know you're working for veterans. Thank you for that. Like I said, my daughter is given 25 years almost to the Veterans military services. I'm very proud of her for that. Have family members who've done even more. But my question is, how do we make sure that we're giving the best to veterans? And 84 homes is not a lot in this area. When you could think about going up and building other types of homes to help our veterans and our communities do better. Those are some of my concerns, but the biggest thing is taking the time to make the right decision and not just rushing through something to pass it on to the Development Authority and say, you guys deal with it, we've done it, then we look to them to try to make some form of agreement. We don't know, because there is no proposal, there is no end to this, as to what the end is supposed to look like, what we're dealing with. We're just being asked to pass it on. And I think that's irresponsible as us when we have county assets. It's not a Vivian assets. These are voters, these are constituents that are watching us, that we should not just pass on something because we can. You may have a very good idea, but I think we need to find a better way to use it, is what I'm saying. Not kill it, but have a better way to use it. And a housing authority may be that better way to use it.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to make one comment to maybe clear up the record that there would be any money laundering involved between the Board of Commissioners and the Development Authority. That's out of bounds.
And inappropriate.
We completely use the Development Authority in other capacities to do the same thing, to help us take care of these transactions, because we, the BOC, should not be in control of those. So thank you, Development Authority. Thank you, Nancy. Just want to make sure that was clear. There is no money laundering, for the record, going on at all.
I said it was similar to, it's a pass-through, and when you have a pass-through.
But that's not money laundering.
That's not money laundering.
So my question goes back to, how do we do this and make it more effective? And I don't think it's been vetted enough to make it effective as it can be for this county. That's what I'm getting to.
So Commissioner Thomas, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
The property in question, prior to us bringing forth this agreement, there was already an agreement on the property with another nonprofit. It was the Kinsley Grace Aquatic Center. They were unable to raise the appropriate funds, and so when that actual agreement expired, we did not pursue it. So that's why the property has sat dormant for so long. So there has been a similar agreement in place for this property. That's one of the reasons I believe we were able to easily structure an agreement, because that's been how we've structured previous agreements. But in terms of vetting the property, they've been here before to this board to present their findings. They most recently had a community leaders summit where they presented a lot of information. And I assure you, our goal is to make sure that the county is protected. One of the concerns that I've had from the beginning is how the transaction will occur, because the homes had to be sold, or at least that was one of the things they wanted to do, was sell the homes. I caution against a housing authority, because the housing authority is not going to sell the homes either. And so we're still going to be in the same situation. But I don't think that there is not a willingness for us to work with the city of McDonough on this. I think Commissioner Anglin's comments regarding someone being a part of this board is important for at least me and staff, because we want to make sure that whatever is going at the end of this parkway, it represents what this board requires from any other developer that's going to be here. And because it's in the city of McDonough, they will have full control over design, the zoning, and so at least we can have some part of that conversation to report back to the board. But I want Commissioner Thomas to know we did not just ignore what we would normally do if we were purchasing property. If the county were purchasing the tract of land, we would have had an appraisal, we would have discussed it, we would have compared it to the market, and we would have identified what our needs were. You mentioned, Commissioner, that we have county needs. You are absolutely correct. And we have an item on the agenda that's later on this agenda that's going to talk about property that we own that we've got to do something with. The only difference with this property and what we're going to talk about later on the agenda is it previously had a group under a long-term lease agreement. The unfortunate part is that we are bound by the state law, and county governments cannot enter into long-term lease agreements. If the county could enter into a long-term lease agreement, Rod Meadows would not be here. We would be presenting this resolution asking the board to consider a long-term lease agreement. But right now, that property is just sitting dormant. And so that is one of the reasons we thought that it would certainly be worth the conversation with this board to bring some life to that tract of land, because it sat there dormant for so long. If there is additional information that you need from a staff management perspective, I'll be more than happy to provide that to you. But I just wanted you to be aware that we didn't skip what we normally do in our processes. The only difference is that we just aren't purchasing the property. And we are still owners of the property. Even if they're on the property, the way this agreement is structured, we are still Henry County government. If this board approves an agreement with the Development Authority, they will be listed as the Henry County Development Authority as the pass-through, and that which would make them part owners of the property. I think the issue tonight, at least my biggest concern, is how the final transaction will occur if we aren't able to come to some agreement on whether these structures will be retained by the county and or owned by Mighty Hero Homes. I think Attorney Strickland has made it abundantly clear that there is a risk to Mighty Hero Homes if the county declares this property surplus. The only way that we can get rid of this property is we have to declare it surplus. We will not give this property away without following the process, because that is a law. We cannot violate that law.
Well, thank you for your clarification. One of the things that I'm trying to do is make sure we are protecting the county. So that's the reason I asked, what is the value of the land? How will it be reported on our financial portfolio? Because we need to know. How will that transaction end up being? The pass-through, I understand the pass-through, and it doesn't look good the way it's being done, but it is being done according to the laws that are there. So the question again is, when you finish, we need a complete proposal from this company with financials to know exactly who we're working with, what will the end produce, so we'll know what we're investing in, and not just a conversation here in front of us, and that's what we're getting. So we're just passing something on without knowing what the end will be, and that is concerning to me.
I'd like to call for a motion. Got a motion? Can
I make a motion with the change to the county ground lease on Article 30, that we remove the word may to shall, and then on Article 7, Section 7.3 on the lease, that we leave that for our attorney to work out that verbiage about having someone on that board until that property is purchased, to approve. That is my motion.
Got a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second.
Got a motion and a second. We have discussed this fully. I don't think there's no more discussion.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Commissioner England talked about a board member.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about a board member from this board?
No.
Or a board member that we appoint?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, that's, I want to make that clear.
Okay. 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 So we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Those that oppose? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what I do want to say is that, Drew, how many homeless veterans do we have in Henry County? I just want to know.
There are thousands, and the ones that we see on the streets are just a very small fraction. The hidden homeless, we've got a veteran couple at the end of this road who are selling their microwave and their last belongings to afford one more night of hotel. They're not counted on anybody's PTI or anybody's count, but they have no home, they have nowhere to go. We're just trying to do something to help them.
So, I mean, we have the opportunity for any other nonprofit organization to bring a proposal to this board. And right now, this organization is the only one that has stepped up to offer housing and tiny homes for veterans in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chair, well, maybe two of us be excused.
I guess.
Second judge I've been in front of today.
All right, planning and zoning, a presentation of TSW Atlanta, Georgia, to present the draft of the Henry County Comprehensive Plan 2040 update and future land use map. And this is a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here to introduce Ms. Allison Stewart Harris with TSW. As you know, we've started the comp plan update back in March of this year. It was really just to do an update to the comprehensive plan. However, staff thought it important to do a full rewrite to reflect more accurately the short and long-term trends and characteristics of Henry County. Ms. Harris will be presenting a working draft of the comp plan and the future land use map for consideration. The draft will be sent to DCA for a 30-day review, and hopefully we can get it adopted in October, since it is actually due in October of this year, to meet our GLC, Qualified Local Government deadline. With that, I will introduce Ms. Allison Stewart Harris.
Great. Good evening. Thank you all so much for having me here tonight. It's my privilege to present to you the comprehensive plan update. I know you all have many more items on your agenda, so I'll go fairly quickly. What I'm going to do tonight is really talk about what our goal was with updating the comprehensive plan. We'll talk a little bit about the main needs and opportunities we identified, but really spend most of our time talking about the proposed changes to your future land use policy. So as a brief refresher, our goal was to really update your 2018 plan, look at your recent development patterns, analyze your existing plans, work with the community on a vision for growth, and really help y'all with an action-oriented plan for moving forward. This was our schedule. We started back in March. You can see all of those sort of sunbursts at the bottom. Those were public input opportunities. And we are now in sort of this final phase here in this light blue box. I do want to note tonight, this is not adopting the plan. This is just asking for your approval to submit the plan for state review. Our scope of work, we had a number of different engagement opportunities, 2 public hearings, including tonight. We had stakeholder interviews, 3 public workshops, 3 steering committees meetings, and 2 online surveys. We also did a number of different technical tasks, including a very in-depth future land use analysis. We had excellent public engagement. You know, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I've never seen a community as engaged as your Henry County community, and I want to thank all of y'all for being part of this process. We had over 60 attendees at each public workshop, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but that is an amazing number. Usually we're lucky to get 10 or 15. We also had over 1,000 respondents to the online surveys. Throughout the process, we identified 5 major needs and opportunities. Traffic was something we heard a lot about. We also heard a lot about the development process and people feeling frustrated that it felt unpredictable and that it wasn't lining up with infrastructure. It also, we heard a lot about there was a lack of things to do, not a lot of entertainment options, people don't want to be driving to Atlanta all the time, a lack of housing diversity, and a desire for more transparent, accessible communication. I'm not going to go into all of this. I know you still have a long night ahead, but again, we wanted to make sure that we were taking the steps needed to address traffic, aligning your development and infrastructure, looking at more things to do, looking at better housing diversity. There's been a lot of housing that's been built recently, and folks are concerned about that, but a lot of that is sort of the same type of housing, and people want a few more options there. Something that we heard a lot about from the community was this desire for transparent communications. Residents want more access to information from the county, clear paths to getting that information, and really want to expand and clarify opportunities for input. Our big emphasis was really looking at your future land use map. Right now in your current plan, you have two maps. One is the future land use map and one is the future community map. I want to start by talking about your future land use map. In your current plan, you have 11 different land uses. A lot of these have some spot changes, they're inconsistent. In this draft update, we've added 3 new land use types. And our goal here was to really have more nuance, more accuracy, and more description attached to those. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about these draft land uses. You can see here, I'll just kind of go down the list here. Starting with the least intense, we have a rural residential land use, which is 0 to 1 dwelling units per acre. We have a low density suburban residential land use, which is 0 to 2 dwelling units an acre, so that's half-acre lots. We have medium density suburban residential, 0 to 4 dwelling units an acre. Higher density suburban residential, that's still single family, that's 0 to 8 dwelling units an acre. We added a new land use, which is urban residential, that's 4 to 12 dwelling units an acre. We also have 2 mixed use designations. Right now you just have one. So we have one that's a lower density mixed use, which is 0 to 8 dwelling units an acre, and a higher density one, that's 8 to 20 dwelling units an acre. A new land use we added was village. This is really to represent some of those crossroads communities that are popping up at Ola and Kellytown. And then the rest of these are your current land uses, which we're not really proposing a lot of changes with. So we have commercial, office institutional, public institutional, industrial, parks and open space, and utilities. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about those first 4. I know folks are very concerned about residential development in the county. And I can imagine that some folks say, oh my gosh, high density suburban residential, we don't want that. But I want to explain what that is. So starting at the top, we've got rural residential. Again, that's that lowest intensity, that's 0 to 1 dwelling units per acre. That is almost a third of your proposed future land use map. That next level up is low density suburban residential, that's 0 to 2 dwelling units an acre. That's over a quarter of your future land use map. So you can kind of see what these look like in terms of their character and that density from above. The medium density suburban residential, that's 0 to 4 dwelling units an acre. That's about 15% of your future land use map as proposed. And that, again, that high density suburban residential, I think that has maybe a scary name, but that's still single family. And that's only 4% of your 4% of your future land use map. If you look at all of these, 75% of your future land use map, we are showing as medium density suburban residential or lower. Another thing that we did with this update is we wanted to provide a little bit more information about each of these land uses. Right now you've got about a paragraph or so in your current plan, but we've provided a lot more information, a lot more guidance. One of the biggest changes is that we said, all right, you've got this future community map that most people aren't really looking at. It's not very helpful. Let's try to make something that's a little more guiding, a little bit more helpful for you all. So we did a really deep dive in your sewer capacity and your transportation network, and we said, okay, how can we better align that with your densities and your land uses? So we've identified 6 different areas. We call them development and infrastructure strategy areas. And what this really does is it helps align that density and intensity with your infrastructure. And it also gives you a balance of predictability and flexibility in your future land use changes. So I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, but there's 6 different areas, and what we've done is we've designated them as a geography. We have a little bit of a soundbite on the general infrastructure strategy, so in terms of your sewer capacity and your transportation network. And then we have this chart for each of these. It's either green, yellow, or red. And what this does is it provides guidance on basically what those options would be if you want to change your future land use. So anything in the green is basically considered appropriate. Anything in the yellow is like, well, this could be appropriate if you meet certain conditions. And the red, we would say this would probably not be appropriate in this area. So we've provided these for each of the different areas. So this is rural reserve, so this is the far southeastern part of the county. Rural communities, which is the largest part of the county. Of these 6 different areas, again, it's very low in the low intensity in the land uses that we're seeing are appropriate. Panola Mountain, this is the north side of the county where there is very dense rock, making development very expensive and very difficult. So again, we're showing pretty low density development in this area as well. We have suburban mix, which has a fairly broad range of uses that we are recommending as appropriate in this area. And then we have two more specialized areas. One is the workplace center, which is where most of your existing industrial is. And then the big one is the central district. We heard a lot about this area throughout the process. And what we've heard is that, there's so much traffic, there's so much development, and we agree there is a lot of both of those things. However, those things are here, the development's here, it's in the pipeline. And so our recommendation is to really try to better accommodate that through a more multimodal complete streets network, saying, okay, this is where we're going to invest in our infrastructure so we can be okay with some of that additional density in this area. Now, I think sometimes when you look at this map, you say, oh my gosh, that's so much more density, that's a lot. I do want to point out when we look at that high density mixed use land use on this map, only 2% of your county is shown as this high density mixed use designation. That urban residential future land use, again, that's 1.53% of all of your future land uses. So if you remember back to a couple slides ago when I showed you those residential uses, 75% of your county was shown as medium or lower intensity residential. The other thing I want to point out is that in this central district, there's very little of these high density mixed use or urban residential areas that you're seeing on the map. Very few of these are new. A lot of these are already approved, they're in your pipeline, they're happening. So we wanted to acknowledge that this growth is coming. It's been approved, a lot of it's under construction. So our main plea is to, let's really make sure that we get the infrastructure and the amenities in place to accommodate this. One other quick point I wanted to make about this map is that we've added what we call community centers. There's 10 different ones around the county. This is really a cluster of commercial services, retail, that's really meant to provide close to home opportunities for folks so you don't have to drive all the way into 75 to meet those daily retail needs. So a lot of this is a little overwhelming and maybe it's confusing about how this all fits together. So I wanted to just very briefly kind of walk through the process. So let's say you want to develop your property. The first thing you would do is you would look for your parcel on the future land use map. Say, okay, find it, read the section of the comprehensive plan. And if your future land use and its recommended zoning match your project, you're in pretty good shape. Now, if it doesn't, the next thing you do is say, okay, well, let me see which one of these development and infrastructure strategy areas my parcel is in. So you would figure that out. And then you would consult this sort of stoplight table. And this will give you a general idea of your other land use options and how easy or difficult that potential change might be. So again, this is a big departure from your current plan. It gives a lot more options and a lot more guidance. And our intent is to really help staff and you all as the Board of Commissioners to be making the best decisions that you can in a very predictable, transparent way, but also not being so rigid that you're saying this is the only thing that can happen here. So again, this is a new framework, but again, it's a general guide for how appropriate each future land use is in these areas. So our final steps, so we published our draft comprehensive plan last week. Every single stakeholder who's been part of the process was notified via email if they had provided that to us. We received about 20 comments or questions. A lot of them were logistical questions about how to access the materials. Some were questions about the public hearing tonight. We did get a couple of requests for specific land use changes on the future land use map. If that request was consistent with the development and infrastructure strategy, we went ahead and made that change. We also had a couple questions about why more detail wasn't on the future land use map, wetlands, that sort of thing. Very important questions, but it's not really part of that comprehensive planning high scale. So with that, we would like to request that the Board of Commissioners authorize the submittal of the Henry County Comprehensive Plan to the Atlanta Regional Commission and Georgia Department of Community Affairs for a review. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
So thank you for the presentation. Do you have the ability to pull up each map by district?
I don't think those are loaded.
We actually didn't load those onto the presentation tonight. I don't know. Can we go back and look at the? Give me 1 second. Let's see if we can work something out. So staff is saying that what you're asking for is actually in your packet. So if I can get a
I
copy.
understand that, but I want it on the screen so the public can see.
Yes, ma'am.
I know what's in my packet.
So, Mr.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to ask, could I come?
If you can get it out here, I can give you mine. And we
Okay,
can put it
okay.
on
That's what I was
overhead.
asking.
Okay.
They didn't print it. So staff said it's in the package. Madam Chair, it's a public hearing, so can you go ahead and call for public comment, and we'll get a copy to provide to you, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, before I start the public hearing,
You wanted the maps.
I wanted to see the maps.
Okay, then hold 1 second.
So I do want to note that there are a few changes that have been made since these maps were posted last week as a result of the public comments that we received. So I do want to note that there are a few changes that have been made since these maps were posted last week as a result of the public comments that we received. So I do want to note that there are
This is the closest we can get to a map immediately. So if there's a particular area, we can zoom in on it and show you what, and then possibly answer any questions you have.
Okay, let's start with District 1.
So I will note in District 1, we had one minor change as a result of a request. We added one parcel in the southeast to the village area along in the Ola area. And then there's a property at that corner, very small. It's a gas station right now. We have changed that to commercial. But those are the only two land use changes that are not reflected on this map.
Are you good, Commissioner Wilson?
Absolutely.
Can I see District 2?
There were no additional changes to this area in the past week.
But District 2 goes all the way up to Stockbridge, so you're only showing me part of District 2. So the gold area is what type of density?
So the light gold or the darker gold?
The dark gold.
The dark gold, that is the medium density suburban residential, so that's 0 to 4 dwelling units an acre.
Okay. Okay, and then District 3.
Low density.
Yes, so this reflects our conversation.
That's District 3.
There were no further changes in District 3 in the past week due to any community comments.
Just want to tell y'all, thank y'all for helping do what our community asked in District 3 and listening to them, so thank y'all.
Thank you.
District 4.
So there is one change I do want to point out on this map. Let's see, if you go to Pates Creek, you see the big reservoir area is in green. There is a parcel there that's shown in dark green up top. That is a private, nope, further down. Yep, but to the right. Yeah. Yep, so that property is privately owned and that was mistakenly put as green space. So that has been changed to medium density residential per the request of the property owner. So that's 0 to 4 dwelling units an acre.
Is that District 4?
That's too far over.
That's not District 4. Is it? No, you got Noah's Ark? I thought that was District 5. That's District 5 is Noah's Ark.
Come back to 75 and go parallel to 75 almost.
Well, piece of this too.
So there's one other change I would like to point out. If you go to Mount Carmel, see the fuchsia kind of purple color? Yeah, so the parcels directly left to the fuchsia. Yes, so that are shown in red. Those have been changed to medium density suburban. So it was high density suburban and it's been changed down to medium density suburban. So that's 0 to 4 dwelling units an acre.
Make sure, because I made that request that it be
Yes,
medium.
yep. So I want to make sure that, yes, it's not shown on this map, but that was a change that we made.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the questions I have on this map is the Mount Carmel Chambers Road area.
That's what she just talking about.
No, because this is.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like look.
Right here. That's what she was just talking about.
Yeah, but is this gonna be purple?
No, she said it's just they haven't reflected it, but it's changed.
So that light purple color, that is the low density mixed use designation. So that's 0 to 8 dwelling units an acre for residential.
So is this orange part going to be changed?
So that kind of dark orange red, yes. So that is now medium density suburban residential. So that is now gold.
Okay, so then all of that from where it's currently gold, that backs up to the orange part or red part or whatever color it is going to be gold.
Correct.
Okay. So before we, is this part of the package that we're adopting?
So
because what I'm saying is I need the changes made to the map before y'all send it off, saying that we're adopting it.
So we don't adopt it until October.
Okay, I know, but you're sending it for a review.
Correct.
And they have to approve it.
Correct. And
So I don't want them approving it on the map that's incorrect.
Okay, so yes, ma'am, completely understand. With the changes, we've made those changes, we're aware of those changes, we just didn't get it uploaded for tonight's presentation. Yes, ma'am.
But yes, the map that will be submitted is the map that notes those changes, and we're happy to provide that to you first thing tomorrow morning to make it for your satisfaction.
Okay.
And we would not submit it before that happens.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and start the public hearing If there's anyone that would like to come forward and make comments, you have each have 3 minutes. Please state your name. Oh, I should have used their map. Okay. So can you bring those maps? Actually, I'm sorry. Can y'all can you bring the maps up in here so that we can see them up here with old people and we can't see that far back? Yeah.
I just want to tell you, I would apologize profusely for dressing the way I am. Was not aware of this meeting until very late today. I've attended these public hearings. My email address was on there, but I did not know about this meeting. I did not receive an email about it, so until one of my neighbors shared it with me. So I apologize for not having proper attire to come before you all. By the way, these are my neighbors and my grandchildren, and they're helping me, and we're going to have to make this fast because I know I have to get them in bed soon for school tomorrow. I'm babysitting. I believe, who do I hand the handouts to? That's what I thought. Okay. And I'm also on the board of directors for the USO of Georgia, HUA, and thank you all for considering the Mighty Homes Heroes, because that is just wonderful to do something like that for our veterans. My son served for years with the 26th Infantry, and my dad served in Korea, and my grandfather served in the World War II. So thank y'all for caring about our veterans who are suffering greatly from mental health issues. Good evening, honorable commissioners. My name is Tina Correa, and I've resided at 660 Chambers Road, McDonough, Georgia, since 1990. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm here representing the homeowners of District 5. You have each received a copy of Better Not Bigger by Eden Fodor, along with my letter, why after a couple of meetings, several of us left when the heat map had no heat showing current assets and resources, schools, fire departments, and thank you guys for being our heroes as well. Existing water and sewer, roads to include minor and major arterials for us to comprehensively take up a true future planning. We were being guided, as my letter said to you all when I provided you with a book. We have a comprehensive land use map which stays current on our current land use. It has to be amended when applying for exceptional rezonings, not consistent with our current future land use map, which developers such as Tim Jones and Herman Talmadge have consistently sought after. The comprehensive land use map, which is the only thing defensible in court when developers like Tim Jones and Herman Talmadge want to sue our county or threaten to annex their property into another municipality to avoid Henry County's development requirements. We have had a serious problem in Henry County with corrupt public officials who have put themselves and their self-serving interests above our county and her citizens. The citizens of the new District 5 have worked diligently with our elected officials to finally create an ethics department in Henry County, resulting in SB 22. I must give due credit to Senator Emanuel Jones and Senator Brian Strickland for helping Henry County to catch up with the times, as Henry County was one of only a handful of our 159 counties in Georgia that did not have an ethics board of any type. We have just provided to you a copy of our current ethics complaint being pursued against our former commissioner, D. Clemens, who has been leading a double life in Tampa, Florida as D. Lassiter. We are currently working on a similar complaint against former District 5 Commissioner Bruce Holmes. There may be others. We have worked diligently to make Henry County a desirable place to live. Former Commissioner D. Clemens sought one exception after the other as amendments to our current land use map for Tim Jones and Herman Talmadge. The amendments to the comprehensive land use map were all denied, but the rezonings were approved. What most folks don't know is that the developers are relentless on trying to get acreage owners like myself and my husband, and we only have close to 100 acres, to sell or give them sewer rights so that they can pursue the highest density possible. I'm including copies of my interactions for your perusal with D.R. Horton, who develops for Tim Jones Properties, and I ask that you make everything I provided to you as part of the public record. Now go to the draft future land use map. Where's it at? Are you showing it now? And if you look on there, go to the draft future land use map, and you'll see after you see my exchange with D.R. Horton, you will see that they punished me by changing my home to high density, and I heard you all discussing about changing it. Okay, well, you have the rest of this here, but let me just say that we're not against growth. We're against zoning for dollars, and I ask that you please do not do these drastic changes to District 5, and I'm calling upon the District 5 homeowners to please let you all know. And one last thing, with COVID-19 recovery still in play and the fact that our state is now doing a study committee on the tax credits for the film industry while they are on strike, we do not need to change anything for ARC.
Okay, time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to come and speak in the public hearing? No, unfortunately not. Okay, well, that closed public hearing? Okay. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners with regards to, where's the presenter? If you could come back up. And you as well too, son, just in case the board may have some specific questions. Commissioner Wilson, are you good?
I don't have any, ma'am.
You don't have any? Commissioner Robinson?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Angle?
District 3 is happy. Thank y'all.
Okay, Commissioner Lewis, did you want to clarify the?
Yeah, he just took it down.
Okay.
I know you said you were changing to medium density, but also on the other side of Mount Carmel, the corner of Chambers and Mount Carmel, to medium density as well. If he can pull it back up, I'll show you.
I don't know if they can pull, did they unplug that one?
We did.
Oh, but if you can, you got don't you have a map on that one? Okay. Is there any kind of way that you can enhance that?
Yeah, whatever they just had up. So.
I think it's on there. Can we use, this is the future map right here.
Correct.
To change. You're taking our rural.
Okay.
Yeah, just blow that up.
Okay. Yeah.
So, right, so this one shows that change that we had talked about from the high density suburban residential.
Go up. Let me see, 'cause
So if you see that purple right there, so that show the change from the high density to the
but
medium
that's just
density.
one partial of it. We're saying.
No,
Okay.
the north.
The north one.
Yeah,
is what
go
you're
straight
looking
up,
for?
straight up.
Okay.
Right there. That should be medium. That should not be high.
Okay, so the request is to change that to 0 to
Correct.
4 dwelling units an acre.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're happy to do that, and once we do that tomorrow morning, we can send the finalized map to y'all to make sure that the changes that we discussed tonight are accurately reflected.
Okay. Just something, can you make sure that you get with Commissioner Lewis and so we have that that accurate for us, that Mount Carmel Chambers area?
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that.
Back to low density, to medium density.
Okay.
Commissioner Wilson.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Outside of District 1, I believe it falls in District 5, 1941. It's the property that at Talmadge Lake.
That's low density.
That's low density mixed use, so that's 0 to 8 dwelling units an acre.
What's the low? You said low density.
Yep. So that light purple color is low density mixed use. So from a residential perspective, that is 0 to 8 dwelling units an acre.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So we need to call for a motion to approve to send the package to ARC
Yes, ma'am. for
and
transmittal.
DCA.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire rescue, where are my heroes? Chief Burnett?
Good evening, Board Chair members. Thank you for having us up here tonight. Tonight for the Henry County Fire Rescue, you have an ordinance amendment amending sections of the Henry County Code setting forth a new fee schedule for the Henry County Fire Rescue. As a point of clarification, this was on the consent agenda, I believe last meeting or meeting before last, and it was brought to our attention after that fact that we needed to bring it back before the board to change some language in it that we had failed to include on our part. So that was our fault and our bad on that. So tonight we're just here clarifying the language that was brought forth again on the same information for the consent agenda a few weeks ago. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Black for the presentation, and we can answer any questions you have at the end.
Good evening, Chair and fellow members of the board. As Fire Marshal for unincorporated Henry County, I come before you this evening with a request to amend the fire department fee schedule. The fire department has not updated its permitting fee schedule since 2016, and not all fees. I'm sorry. And not all fees were modified at that time. With these minor changes, our department aims to be compensated for the work already being performed, as well as increase overall revenue to assist with qualified employee retention. The fire department's fee schedule is comprised of 33 fee categories. 30 are considered fixed rate fees and 3 are tiered and based off project square footage to include construction expansion permits, sprinklers, and alarm permits. It's important to note that any increase in the fire department fee schedule will have a minimal impact on residential development. This singular category will only see an increase from 100 to 200 on site review plans only. Our top priority is to move away from the tiered fee schedule on the commercial side. This is a snapshot of our current fee schedule. It's just, and it's to demonstrate our due diligence in comparison to 4 metro area counties and 4 municipalities, to include Clayton, Fayette, Cobb, Hall County, and the cities of McDonough, Stockbridge, Hampton, as well as Locust Grove. This is Exhibit A. This is what the new proposed fee schedule is going to look like. And again, we're going to move from a 5-tiered system on a commercial to 1 flat rate and 2 rates on the sprinklers and alarm permits. Okay, so basically this will create equity across the board. In contrast, our current fee schedule impacts a smaller business more based on square footage. If you'll notice on this particular slide here, it costs the same for a 500,000 square foot warehouse as it does for a 1 million square foot warehouse on permitting. And it's actually cheaper to build a 700,000 and a 500,000 square foot warehouse in Henry County. Our plan review divisions and our inspection divisions are more time consuming for the life of the project. And then small business, again, is paying the price of the way that it's currently listed in our fee schedule. I would also like to call your attention to the fact that with approved changes to the fee schedule, there will be 0 impact on the average size multi-use commercial development here in Henry County, which spans 10,000 to 30,000 square feet. This fee will remain at the current rate of 10 cents per square foot. This category represents many of our projects and is the bread and butter of our community development. So in summary, we're anticipating a revenue increase by project and permit type. We're eliminating our tier rate systems. It'll have a minimum impact on our residential site review. And again, our focus is on a net increase for construction and expansion permit fees.
With that, I would like to thank Brett Hanks for his help on getting this for us here tonight. And we've also communicated with Josh Finn with the Development Authority, who also supports us updating the fee schedule as well. So, any questions?
Commissioner Wilson, any questions? Roberts? Daniel? Oh, any questions? Okay. All right. No questions. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Lord, just a bit one.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I am here tonight to present a resolution approving the contract and construction administration services. Oops, wrong way. This is going to be a contract through the Sourcewell Easy IQC contract. It's going to be for the design of the E911 EMA facility, the public safety driving pad, the fire department burn tower pad, and associated site improvements. This will be with Place Services, Inc., and the amount of the contract is $2,591,951.69. The source of the funding will be E911 funds and capital improvement plan funds. So currently there is an urgent need for a safer E911 EMA facility that meets FEMA standards for a hardened facility. A hardened facility refers to a specialized design and construction that's applied to a building to allow it to resist wind pressures and windborne debris during a high wind event. Staff has consulted with Gordian and Place Services to develop the scope of work and the fee for the design services and the construction administration services. The Gordian work order and the Place Services scope of work is part of your packet. The project scope includes design of the new hardened 51,200 square foot E911 EMA facility, a 10,500 square foot E911 EMA warehouse, 2 outdoor pavilions, a 400 by 400 public safety driving pad, a fire department burn tower pad, a 6,600 square foot classroom that would be adjacent to the driving pad and burn tower, and the associated site improvements. We've also included construction administration services as well. So as I said, the funds are going to be from 911 and the CIP, and the total design is $1,990,776.07, and the total construction administration is $601,175.62. So it is broken down between the E911 funds and the CIP funds for the total. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this project.
Okay. Chief Ireland, if you come up, where's the deputy chief from the fire department? Commissioner Wilson, do you have any questions, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for putting this together. We've been waiting for this project to come forward for a while, so thank you for that. So I do have a question about the timeline for the design. How long is it going to take to get the design back?
All right, so design for all of the items listed is projected at 10 months. That's 10 months of design, then it will be submitted for plan review.
Okay, so we're talking within a year?
I would say within a year,
okay.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Robbins?
I saw the design, and I did have a question. So with the burn tower, and could it not have been on the opposite end where you have your, thank you.
We didn't specifically put that in place where it was at, and that might be some of the design that the team comes up with. But where it's situated at specifically, there's not going to be a concern, because I know it's been voiced to us with the site from the water park of are they going to be able to see it? Is there going to be black smoke pouring off of it that's going to interfere with the the leisure part of the water park? And that's just not going to be the case. It's not going to be site visible where it's placed from the water park. The materials that are burned inside of a burn building are not going to be able to produce your thick black smoke that you see on a typically ordinary house fire. So those concerns, as far as the safety and visual aspect of it, are not going to be there as to what some people may think.
Okay, thank you, because I was concerned about the aesthetics.
We are maintaining a very substantial buffer and maintaining the existing tree line, so it will be shielded substantially from the view from the Aquatic Center.
While I have the mic, I just want to say thank you all for your service. We really do appreciate everything that you do. And just by you all standing together, this just shows how strong we are here in Henry County. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Wilson, you had one other question?
I do have one more question, being that Chief Burnett was up. So the designs for a burn building pad, so we're going to be looking at a different design for a burn building later, correct?
Yes, sir. So Lynn's requested that the foundation be built to what the specs need of the actual burn building to be on top of that foundation. Yes, sir.
There's a special design for a burn building, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. No question. Commissioner Lewis.
Yeah, I just, Chief Burnett, I just want to, you could just tell the public why we need a burn building, what we're currently doing, because we don't have that access.
Sure, absolutely. So over the past month or so, I've had the opportunity to meet with each one of you, and I thank you for those meetings. So during those meetings, we discussed what our ISO rating for the county is, and what that looks like and how that affects all the citizens of Henry County. So we had our last evaluation in 2020, and we have our next evaluation due in 2025. We were fortunate enough in 2020 to be able to lower our ISO rating, but since 2020, we've had to actually condemn the training facility that we're using due to the age of it and basically just the safety factor of it. The unfortunate thing is that not this particular board, but there's never been a board that has built a training facility for the fire department in Henry County. And Henry County serves between the 5th and the 6th largest career fire department in the state of Georgia, and we don't have a place to train our firefighters at. We don't have a place to train our EMTs and paramedics at in the field. The current classroom facility we're using right now is a 40-year-old Butler building that was built on a landfill, which actually was condemned for about 10 years. All right? We don't have a facility to learn how to fight fire in. So what we've been having to do is borrow training facilities in neighboring counties. We've had to bus our recruits to neighboring counties using their facilities to train our people. And quite frankly, it's just embarrassing. And that's not what we want for the type of fire department that we are and the type of fire department that we're striving to be. So when we talk about recruiting, when we want to be the best, we all sat up here tonight and talked about the growth of the county. Well, with that growth comes the additional resources of public safety in order to keep them safe. And we're just not going to be able to do that if we don't have a place to train our personnel. So, we have been using neighboring counties, which we greatly appreciate, because without those neighboring counties, we would not, and those mandates come from the state, we would not be able to train our people to the level that we need to train them at and the level that we need to certify them at in order to continue to operate in the business that we operate in. So if it wasn't for those neighboring counties, yes, sir, you're correct, we would not have been able to produce the last 4 classes that we were able to produce.
Thank you, sir.
And Chief Burnett, this is more than just training recruits. You have firefighters that have to go through continuous training. So this is not just recruit training, it's training in general for all of your firefighters.
Correct, yes, ma'am. Last year I think we produced in the neighborhood of 300,000 combined hours total. So when you look at a department of 400 plus service members, having a place to be able to conduct that training, of course, is paramount. And we just don't have that right now, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to everyone, Chief, for the work that you do. It's absolutely spectacular to see the blue around us and celebrating all that you do. And I want to say thank you, Lynn. You do everything in superiority. You have a proposal, and it has a budget, and you have a plan, and you have activities, and you're showing, even though you're internal, you're showing exactly how our money is being used. You're showing how it's being invested, and that's what I support. So thank you for putting before us a grand proposal. And I also want to say we're using land that we own, correct?
That is correct.
That's exactly what I'm putting forth, that we have to use the land that we own to make sure we're serving the people and the gentlemen and the ladies that are serving us. And I want to thank you all for finding and maximizing the land. Sherry, we're using land that we own. So thank you so much for doing that as well. I have no questions, just want to celebrate you for maximizing what we have, putting forth the right proposal, putting numbers and a budget together, know exactly what we're doing. Thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Kevin Johnson, can you come and talk a little bit about emergency management and 911, if I can get Amanda to also talk a little bit about what your needs are?
Sure. We are constantly growing, right, as a county, and those needs are growing as well. In emergency management, we have completely overgrown the space that we have. The space itself was a RV shop before 911 moved in about 10 or 12 years ago. Currently, that's where all of our emergency operations take place. That EOC is where our leadership comes together during these storm events, major events. And it's just not a safe place. The walls are shaking, everything's flooding, it's falling apart. I would not allow my wife or my child to be in that building during a storm in Henry County, but that's where I expect my team to be. So I feel like we're in a bad situation, and we need to move towards a change there. Lynn's done a great job of putting this plan together, and I think it's the right path. So,
Amanda?
I can ditto what Kevin said during the county leadership meetings. Miss Sherry will come over there and she'll say, I'm not staying over here long because I don't feel safe in the building either. We have to be there 24 hours a day, of course, 7 days a week. It's not very safe for our people, but that's what we have right now that we have to work in.
So I heard y'all had some snakes over there inside the building too.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
4 different occasions.
Okay. Chief Ammerman?
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, I just want to say thank you for consideration of this. They desperately need these new facilities. Just in the last year, the 911 and EMA, who share the same building, they've had fires, there's been explosions, there have been water main breaks, there's been leaks. This is our nerve center. This is how we get help to all the citizens that are in need, is from this place. So we got to give them a good building to operate out of. They do everything for us, so we got to take care of them. But thanks for your consideration of the plan tonight, and hopefully y'all will approve it.
Absolutely. Well, Lynn, thank you for putting this together. You are amazing.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank the public safety team and each and every one of you all for what you get up every day and do the job every day. So thank you and appreciate that. Lynn, you do a great job. Thank you for the proposal that you have put before us. You know, we are expending county funds, whereas in other instances, we're not expending county funds. So that's what makes the difference in making sure that we have a good proposal before us. So at any point, I'd like to call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor?
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Board.
We have a public comment. Do we have someone signed up for public comment?
Yes, ma'am. If she's in
Okay.
attendance, it's Miss Lynette Swint.
Okay. If she would come forward, and Ms. Swint, if you would come forward, and you have 3 minutes to address the board.
I didn't know I was the only one. Of course, my name is Lynette Swint. I am the current president for Henry County Retired Educators. We're one of the largest nonprofit organizations in the county, and we try to do our best. I'm here today because I am an avid pickleball player, and I'm hoping that I looked at the budget for the grant that you gave to the Parks and Rec last on August 1st, $300,000, not 300, but $30,000. Anyways, we're looking for money to build facilities for the pickleball. We only have 2 outdoor courts in Henry County, which is at Hidden Valley. Most of us have to go to another county, which is Spalding. Spalding has 18 courts, and they use their courts for tournaments, and when they have tournaments, they bring in at least $3 million to their county. So we would like for our county to also look at facilities that can help bring economy to our county also. Pickleball is a up and growing sport, and not only seniors play it, but everyone now is beginning to play it. So, but since I retired, I've been playing it since 2016. So we just want to have more facilities available for the people here, so we don't have to go to the surrounding counties.
Yes, ma'am. Are you pretty good?
I'm really good.
Well,
but I don't play tournaments. So.
Right. So I'm gonna tell you the person. I'm gonna put the person on spot you need to talk to. Stand up, JP. Stand up. Come on
know
over
him.
here.
I actually have met him.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so,
Yeah, but I thought I would want to bring, I wanted to bring it before you too, to let you know that it is up and growing, and it could help our economy, especially with us building all those hotels and stuff in the county.
Right,
And we
and-
can bring in other people to help raise money too.
and since we are redoing our Parks and Rec comprehensive plan, this is something that we can address now.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
Well, thank you so much
All
for
right,
coming
thank
out.
you, thank you for letting me
Okay.
speak, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Have a great evening.
I'd like to call, is that it for public? Okay, all right. Approval of minutes for July 18th, 25th, and 25th. Can I get a motion? You got a motion, second? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Upcoming meetings and event, August 31st, 2 p.m. Henry County Airport Authority kickoff meeting, August 31st at 4 p.m. Henry County Buildings and Facilities Authority. September 6th, regular scheduled BOC meeting has been canceled. September 19th, BOC meeting has been canceled due to the fact that the community room will be under construction and we will not have any place to hold meetings. So with that, are we doing executive session?
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
no executive session. Okay. Meeting is adjourned. Everyone have a great evening.